Hello, welcome to the Sword Gamer. I'm one of your hosts, Rob. Today I'm joined by Nick Pert. Hi, Nick. How are you?
G'day.
G'day. Tom, the late one.
I was on time. Fuck you.
And also the Ed Snowden of 40k. It is.
Is that immediately where we're going, are we?
And welcome to the show, Innes. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me back. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure.
Which
to have you
international embassy are you held up in right now?
Scotland. It's very nice. We don't have an extradition clause to England right now because we're not allowed to leave.
Good.
It's like Leeds.
Safe.
Just doesn't happen.
Yes.
Fine.
Yeah,
By
true.
the way, I want to point out my webcam looks really good today, and I haven't bought a new one.
You look really good.
I
All
always
of you
look
look
really
really good.
That's
I
beside
think
the
it's
point.
the background picture, Tom.
Yeah, it's for 4K HP Cho'Gath. It's just really doing 4K shield.
Nikos looks like... Nikos, are you a hologram?
Huh?
Are you a hologram now?
Am I a hologram?
Yeah.
Yes. I actually died.
White Walkers in the
I
back.
actually died a year ago, and you guys have just been using an AI reconstruction of my voice and personality with a hologram to replace me.
Nick, tell us about it is. Thanks for subscribing. It's always a baller move subscribing when you're on the show.
You've got to keep your numbers up, you know.
Exactly. Can I just say a big shout out to everyone who has subscribed today? David Ams, I just seen you subscribe. Thanks so much. Big love to you, and also to everyone for joining us live. Will Dockerall, hope you're well. Mamdare, what a gorgeous man. Big Goldfish, Rura. Thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to be talking about it's our first look at Codex Deathwatch. So. What we do is we just have like a full our new process now for unlocking a codex for us is we have a big long chinwag, we talk about it, we ask a bunch of questions, then next week we'll do the rolls for units in the book, and then the week after we'll do some army lists. So that's our general kind of process. We've got the news to get to before that. However, Gebs, thanks also for subscribing. Thanks everyone, welcome to the team.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
More people subscribe, please. We've got a hype train. Give us money. Thank you.
Tom,
It would be really nice. Christmas is coming up. What were we saying? Oh, everyone on the podcast, please stay hydrated and drink water. We need to get to the news, but before we get to the news, let's find out how everyone on the show is. Let's start with Innes as our special guest. How are you, sir? How you been?
Yeah, not too bad. I've been bashing away at some TTS games, trying to paint through a bunch of Tyranids for my sins. It's been not too bad. It's struggling with motivation at the moment. Like, there's not really events to go to or anything like that, which is normally what I paint for, so the motivation to punch through 120 gaunts just hasn't been there. But, you know, we're getting there slowly but surely, doing like 5 a day in the hopes that by the time the lockdown ends, I'll be halfway done.
Is that your technique for batch painting? Then you do 5 at a time?
No, I did 100. I did 86 at once, and now I'm just very slowly painting individual models in that batch. It's not really batch painting at this point.
You're just like, is it like the end of a marathon where someone's just trying to drag themselves across the line?
Yeah, it's like I did every stage on 86 models at once, and now it's like, okay, I need to do the next stage, but the next stage is going to take me like 6 weeks. So it's kind of, I gave up on the whole batch painting of the batch, but it's just like I can get myself to paint like 5 or 10 a day. I can't make myself sit down and paint 80.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been not great, but.
I hear. I just finished 30 intercessors, which I'm very pleased about myself with. So, and I'm doing and now for some reason I'm painting up 15 Hellblasters, but it feels like I'm just painting the same model again. Like there's no difference.
Infinitely more than you'll ever need. So at least you're sorted if the book ever becomes good with them.
That's my dream. This is I've got a new theory for 40k that I'm going to buy low and then hope high. It's probably a bold strategy that won't work out, but.
That's why I'm painting. That's why I'm painting gaunts.
It's really nice to have you on the show. Thanks for being here. Thanks to Rhett Santi in the chat for joining us, and T-Man Cash. I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to all our bros over in Maryland, and also, you know, if only the HMS Bounty could have sunk in the sea, it would have been great. Nick, how have you been?
Yeah, I've been all right. I've not really been up to much. I have. The only hobby I've really been doing is building some more Death Guard, which I'm doing right now.
Oh, what are you building?
Just Plague Marines. I think I've got about 30 Marines now. All of them are combat, apart from 6 plasma guns. Everyone else is like a combat loadout, like double Plague Knife, axe and knife, or the flail. So I'm going for a more combat themed
To be honest,
list.
we might actually have a Death Guard army because I have 62 with just bolters.
Ah, nice.
Like, we don't need to do that combat stuff with Death Guard. They're just going to stand places.
I have 9 Blight Haulers. Can I join the team?
Yeah, that sounds good. Their new data sheet
Yeah.
looks nice. So
Good. Oh, welcome to Canhammer TV. Oh, it's nice seeing him in the chat. It's Darren.
Yeah, dude.
Gimme, thanks for subscribing. What's going on? What up, Lockdown Broheems? Yeah, it's nice joining you. Okay, and Tom, how have you been? What stuff you been doing?
Good question. I've got 35 Terminators over here.
Ooh, what colour are they?
Yeah, they're silver.
Bandwagon.
What do you mean bandwagon?
They're all the colours.
Fuck you.
Are they the Rainbow Marines? Is this
No,
your way
they're
of...
my Grey Knights. Fuck off. So I finally finished painting their legs. I'm now on to painting their torsos, which I've now glued on, and then I can finally get to doing the arms.
Wait,
So-
what is your system for painting?
I paint them. I part assemble.
Okay. And then you
So I
paint
the
each
legs,
part.
and then yeah,
Are you making sure you paint all the armpits
yeah. That's why. Because
that won't be seen when they're glued together?
It will be seen. Fuck you.
Non-metallic metal armpits.
I think when I throw them in the box and they're upside down, you'll be able to see the armpits.
Scoppy says that's absolutely the way to paint Marines. I like how most
Yeah.
people are batch painting.
Otherwise, it makes like when you spray it, all the fucking like armor bits like look like they're the same part because you like spray them, and then the paint just dries over the top, and it just looks like one big like pink guy fucking like morph suit shit.
I like that everyone else's batch paint is like, right, I'll do all the black on this, and then all the brown, and then all the blue, and Tom's
Go
is
through
like,
all the
I'll do
arms.
all the
I
legs.
extrapolate it.
Listen, Hobby Tom is my new favourite Tom, so I'm not saying anything to you about it. All right, let's go on to some news. Because there's been some big news, and actually, we haven't had your opinion. Turns out we've actually had Tom and Nick's opinion, but Tom's was roaring in the moment, and Nick's was live as well. So since the weekend, we've obviously heard about Codex Dracari, which is like whatever. However, I guess the real question is the new campaign book coming out with some new additional match play rules in the campaign. But what are your thoughts on that?
I really hope it's not got match play rules in it.
Yeah,
That's kind of the only feeling I have. If it's got match play rules in it, I'll be very upset at Day Zero DLC. But I'm living on that. Let's hope it's like the terrain book, and there's just nothing in it that matters to anyone except Crusade players. Crusade players can do whatever they want.
Had the match play, the terrain book. To be honest, I completely forgotten it even existed, which is exactly the way it should be.
Yep, that's what we want from it.
That's what you want from it. You want someone in a club being like, I've got the terrain book, and everyone like, why?
What terrain
What
book?
terrain book?
Okay, Tom, Nick, you've had some time to digest from last week. Is it just the same feeling still?
Yeah, exactly the same. It's not something we wanted as a community, I feel. I don't think anyone that I know will be happy that there is immediately at the start of an edition another additional book that you want. I meant to do something today, but I forgot, to be honest. I was gonna calculate if say one of my friends was trying to get into the hobby now and wanted to start 40k and go to a tournament with 2,000 points, how much money they would have to spend. Obviously, we know it's an expensive hobby and you're going to have to spend a lot of money anyway, but it seems to be getting to the ridiculous, just everything. It seems to be getting to the ridiculous
if you want
level.
to play a Chaos Army nowadays.
Yeah.
We're going to get, Death Guard are getting their Codex this month, and then also this mission pack thing has rules for them. If that's match play rules, that's just, we're back to the same old where you need your Psychic Awakening and your book. I thought they were phasing those out. This is not ideal.
Yeah.
And it'd be fine. I wouldn't be so upset about it if the app was good, because they could have had like a DLC bit in the app where you buy specifically just the Death Guard bit from that campaign for £5 or whatever, and they get it all in the app. I'd be cool with that. But the fact that you've got to buy what I imagine is a £20 book for a couple of pages of rules for your army and loads of narrative which you may or may not be interested in, it's just a bit. It's irking me as a consumer.
Yeah, especially with not having digital codexes anymore.
Yeah,
you've now got to physically go and buy the book if you want the code, or find someone who doesn't want the code. It's
I've now started carrying codexes. So I was reading the Sorry, yeah, Deathwatch one today, obviously. And then, but in order to, because it references a lot of rules in the Marine book, so I have to also carry that book around. And I was like, I mean, it was fine, like, because I was just only going from point A to point B. Plus, I don't go anywhere nor see anyone any day of my life now because of lockdown. But you know, like, it's still just like that's a lot, isn't it? It's a bunch of effort that you don't really need to do. Go on.
You could need Codex Space Marines, whatever new campaign book they're in, your supplement of choice, and the Forge World book just to play a single faction army now. Plus rule book, chapter approved for missions. Like, it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot of money before you buy. It's a lot of money before you buy a model, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to get it into competitively, where you're only going to buy stuff that like you know the rules for. That's looking at £200 of sunk costs before you're like being able to understand what is good for your army.
Well, it's £200 of sunk costs on top of what you spent last year and then the year before. And the year before that on just into rules. So, yeah, I agree. Nathan's OnlyFans in the chat. It's not pay to win, it's pay to play. It's not like it's a good statement that you've said. I just mainly wanted to read out your Twitch handle. If I'm honest with you. All right, Tom, you were super upset, obviously, about it.
Sorry, I was changing my background for no reason
That's fine. So, Tom, what are your thoughts on there being a lot of books you have to pay money for, which seem very accessible digitally online?
I will not buy any campaign books from Games Workshop.
Have you got room for a first mate on your ship, Tom?
I've always got room for lots of mates on my ship, boy.
If it makes you guys feel any better, like I've got a whole bay you guys can come and hang out in if you want. Yeah, so you're not going to buy any campaign books, basically.
No way. Fuck off.
Yeah, that seems super fair, and none of us should either.
Yeah, I did a big thing on the Sunday show. I'm not going for it again.
Yeah. I think that's
mainly because it won't be half as good.
Well, exactly.
Or bad, depending on your perspective. But there we are.
All right. Okay. Well, so I haven't really had any other thoughts beyond like just a big no from me. Not very interested. I don't want to be a part of it. But it's an interesting conversation leading us into Codex Deathwatch. Obviously, I think because you need 2 books to play Deathwatch, like minimum. You need the Marine book and you need the Deathwatch book, and that's if without any supplements. So it's already a 2-book codex. And there's my first thought from that book was that you tend to reference the Marine book quite a lot, right? Because everything that's in the Marine book, I think almost everything that's in the Marine book is playable in the Deathwatch book, effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really, you're looking inside at the data sheets of the first book, and then you're applying the rules of the second book. Is the process, right?
But yeah, it depends. Yeah. It depends, like what, like you could build a Deathwatch army with nothing from the Space Marine book, but you still need to refer to it for a couple of rules. Or you could build your Deathwatch army entirely out of the Space Marine Codex and have to refer to it a lot.
Yes, that's super true. Zip Zap Rap in the chat thinks that if we wouldn't like golf because you need to buy clubs and $50 each time you play, we have to buy books and then models and then paint and then build them and paint them and then pay $50.
Lots of the reason I don't play fucking golf.
Yeah, and then have to pay $50 to pay at an event. So it's a pretty shit argument. So like you do have to play, right? Pete said I had to get out 3 editions worth of 40k books while getting ready to move house. I dread to add up how much that was spent on all that. Yeah, I think that's fine. All right. So, Innes, you got any thoughts on the book wholesale before we start looking at it? Oh no, we lost you, babe. Oh no, we did have some audio issues before. Don't worry. Tom, what about you? Have you got any thoughts? Top level before we get into it.
So I've kind of been a bit overwhelmed because I've spent a lot of time. Oh, that's a point. Do you want me to do a Vargard Oberon rundown? By the way, based on
nobody wants that.
Oh, he's come back just to do that. There we go. We fixed the mic, boys. Perfect. There it is. You are welcome, chat. I fixed it.
Yeah, go on. Before we get to Deathwatch, go do it, because I'd like to hear it, please.
So, with the Oberon stuff, I'm not sure if it's optimal at all, but it did what I wanted it to do. The problem with the list was mainly that I had 520 points with just dead points. because I had the Nightbringer and 2 squads of Immortals. I didn't
Do you
need
wanna-
him.
do you wanna- just in case anyone hasn't listened to the last few weeks' shows, I mean, why haven't you? Is the real point.
Yeah,
But do you want to let people know in on what you're talking about?
I
Just
mean,
give
I
some context.
personally, I'd like to punish those people, but sure, I'll just give them the fucking shortcut here. Then I guess you're welcome. We're so benevolent.
You can find the list at the previous week's video at an undeterminate time. Good luck.
Yep, go and read it. Yep. So I've got Oberon, Zandrak, 20 warriors in Asiatic patrol. I had 3 squads of 5 Wraiths, another Chronomancer, 2 squads of Immortals, 2 squads of Crypto Thralls, another Chronomancer with Veil, and then I had 1 squad of Scorpic Destroyers, and I had a Nightbringer. I think the problem with it is the games that I lost.
And you were playing these on TTS matches.
I was
right?
playing it in the Scottish TTS league, so it was one of the leagues that Innes ran for the Scottish team, kind of thing. I played 5 games with it. I think the issue was the games that I lost, it was because I was running out of things like the Wraiths quite early on. I didn't have enough stuff being pushed into the center. So what I'm aiming to do is try and make it a bit more efficient in terms of pushing more stuff in. So I'm looking to get one of the Chronomancers in my Soundtech detachment so I can veil the 20 warriors over if I need to, which is actually surprisingly decent when you've got like hitting on +1, re-rolling 1s, re-rolling to charge an extra
really
attack.
good.
It's a lot of shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. And an 18-inch rapid fire range as well because of Soundtech. Also, you're pretty much guaranteeing that you're going to get 30 points on secondaries from your first 2 because with that list, now that you've not got the Nightbringer in there, you're getting 15 points on while we stand, while we fight. Yeah. So long as you don't like completely fucking balls up the game. And then you are also getting 15 points on the Necron secondary because it's just giga broken. And for context, that is effectively for every table quarter your opponent is not in at the end of your turn, you get 2 points. So
And you really like that one.
Oh, it's fucking bonkers, dude. It's insane. Like, let's say you just hold 1 table quarter for the entire game, you get 8 points. Like, so if you just kick your opponent out of 2 table quarters for the entire game, you max it. It's insane. Like, it's so much value.
I mean, there's something to be said for like all of those. Like we're gonna when we talk about Deathwatch 1, there's obviously 1 inside. Well, I mean, there's 2 in there that are pretty. Yeah, there are 2.
You can only take 1 though, Rob. It's fine.
Huh?
You can only take 1 though. It's fine.
You can only take 1 secondary from why?
I thought you could only take 1 secondary from your codexes.
Yeah, you can only have 1 Deathwatch secondary.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah, you can take 1 Deathwatch and 1 Space Marine, but you can't take 2 Deathwatch ones.
Oh, well, you just take the Space Marine one.
Where does it just say that in the book? And I just
it just says that in the book, yeah.
Oh, right, okay. I'll skip that paragraph at the top. You know, it's at the top. It's just always a bit of bump that you just think, oh, this is going to be pointless.
It's okay. Imagine you could take the 2 Deathwatch ones and the Space Marine one.
Well, you can take the Space Marine one and the Deathwatch one, right?
Yes, you can, but imagine you could only take book secondaries.
Well, imagine when you can take the campaign one as well after. Oh, we're in fun town now, boys.
Don't even start. Holy shit. Please. Thank you. So, yeah. Basically, it was just a case of the 2 games I lost. It was because I ran out of race too early. One was against a Necron list, where I was playing against Andy from Team Wales. He had like a mech Necron list, which is basically just meant to just not die, and it has relentlessly expansionist and all that guff. The problem he had was if I can charge him turn 1, he can't fall out and shoot because he only has the option to do that once on his protocols, and that was in turn 2. So I charged all of his screens with my Wraiths, bounced off all the Immortals. I mean, I lost 14 Wraiths and all my Scorpic Destroyers turn 1. And I was like, that's not good.
Nope.
So that was pretty much that. And then the next game, it was just 6 Dreadnoughts with flat 3 damage on my melee weapons. I managed to split him up and try and charge him a bit, but the Nightbringer died to a bunch of explosions, and that was not good. So
sounds deserved.
Yeah, shit happens. But once I've streamlined it a bit and I've got rid of some of my Immortals, I don't know. But at the same time, I don't really feel like I have the time to test it anymore. Just because.
And for reference, he beat the hell out of my 150 Tyrannid models list.
Yeah, but that was because you
ran at me.
Yeah, I did.
Ran at me and I couldn't get past him to objectives.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was the game. It was great.
Yeah, we started the game saying, we think that the Necron secondary isn't great against you. And then you just can't run past me, and it's
because
like,
if you didn't get first turn, it would have been worse. But because you got first, it was an easy 14 points.
At the same time, though, it's like the alternative is taking engage in all fronts, and it's just like, well, it's just not ideal for me anyway because I don't want to like be dictated to where I have to go. So it's just like
I like being dictated to where I have to go.
You like being dominated.
I have to think, So I'm just gonna go and score my points. I don't have to think about how I'm doing it, and just give me them game.
Giving me all that I need. Big shout out to Killer Covers in the chat and Will Dockerel. Hope you're well. Sleepy HDS says Immortals are no joke in melee. So specifically, Tom, the thing you said was a waste of points was the Nightbringer. Not a fan.
No, he's fucking shit. I went through it on another show, but he's very swingy. Even when he hits the right targets, it's very hard for him to hit the correct targets because, firstly, he can lock him down with just utter shit, and then also, like, he's kind of slow anyway, and you can avoid
How dare
him.
you? I call those Orc boys.
Yeah, all
That's what I
boys
call
and
them.
intercessors. Like, you charge your intercessors, on average, you kill 4 intercessors, even if you don't like swing low. So that's 3 assault phases in there. It only takes 4 turns to kill the Nightbringer. And he's toughness 7, so intercessors can't pull 3 wounds.
And they're not as survivable as you might think, where you can only take 3 wounds per phase. It's not like Gazgul's got a similar rule, but I think it's a different story because he's got a 2+ invulnerable, but he's got a 2+ armor save though, right?
Yeah, and a 4+ invuln.
And a 4+ invuln. So
And
even like
heal
light arms fire with no AP can still chip away at Nightbringer, whereas Gazgul is a bit more resilient to that.
You have to limit the phases Nightbringer takes damage in, not just the turns, right? Because you have to only let them deal with him in the shooting phase. You can't let people smite him and then shoot him or whatever, because then they can do it to 2 turns. You really need to get that 3rd turn out of him.
Dude, legit. In the last game I played, I literally used the Zandrek to stop the guy I was playing, Chris, from interrupting with his dreadnoughts so the Nightbringer could swing, and then the Nightbringer just took 3 wounds to an explosion anyway. So it's just like,
because it's such a big investment. I think if you're going to run a Catan, just run a Transcendent because they're 60 points cheaper.
100%. Yeah,
but you don't really need a Catan.
Yeah, the theory I have on this is the way to make the Nightbringer viable is to give him reroll 1s to hit, and then either make his large swing on his melee weapon do triple attacks, or give it damage too.
Would you not say like the Nightbringer suffers from? See, like I think Nightbringer is a different conversation to Gazgul, because Gazgul's like fits.
Gazgul's also an aura bot, right? So
yeah. But when he gets there, he smashes what he gets into, like absolutely. Yeah. But I'm more.
And you have to respect it.
Yeah, you do. I just the conversation more I was trying to have is, and I've been having this very consistently. Obviously, having come from playing a lot of Age of Sigmar, I feel like, especially with the objectives and the way the whole game plays on those primaries, is that like single models really have to bring something to the table. Like if you're spending X amount of points, which could be 20, 40, maybe even warriors, you have to bring significant value to the team, which isn't holding the primary, right? And I think that's why I don't think we'll see necessarily as many, like, we won't see like 3 tanks, talking about Marines or stuff like that. I don't think we'll see a lot of like large vehicles very often anymore, unless their like output is insane and that's really their purpose. And like,
there are not many armies that can do that.
Well, I was also talking about this with the Scottish guys, in that he doesn't necessarily... in theory, he fits quite well into what you want to do, in just like lobbing shit in your opponent's face and making them deal with it. The problem is that when you take Relentlessly Expansionist, which you do all the time, right? You move 6 inches and then you move 12 inches with your Wraiths, so you move 18 inches. The Nightbringer only gets to move 8, so by that point, you're 10 inches behind. Now, you can advance, but... at the same time, then the Wraiths are probably getting a charge range move as well, and then that just counteracts it a bit. So you're still like a turn behind whatever your Wraiths are doing.
Yeah. He's fine on output and he's fine on defensiveness. He just doesn't. The fact that he has both makes him too expensive. If he only did one of the 2 things, or you only needed him for one of the 2 things, he'd probably be fine at cheaper points. But because he's 250 points with being good at both, they don't really work together, because getting stuck in just means you're exposing yourself to more phases to get punched in.
Yeah, 100%.
If you sit back to abuse the fact that you can't really die on objectives or whatever, then you're not using his combat prowess. He just doesn't quite jive.
He's not good value for either of the things that you're going to be using him for.
Yeah, exactly.
Sergeant Rolf says, so 2 friends of mine played a game and he brought 2 Catans in 1,000 points. My other buddy brought a burner bomber and he killed both in turn.
Fucking serves him right.
Exactly. Okay, so you think a points reduction on the Nightbringer specifically would be helpful? Do you think that, Nick, do you think there's a larger conversation about single models in 40k at the minute? Like, I don't know.
Unless you can give them objective secured, or they fulfill a significant role of like massive damage to something, then
depends on.
They're not as valuable. I don't see them as valuable as like lots of troops that can win objectives.
I had a big vent on this in the Team Scotland Discord recently, which is basically, it comes down to when you take like a 12 or an 18 wound model, they're priced as an elite model in terms of like how many points they pay per wound, but then they are significantly easier to kill than like So 10 intercessors is harder to kill than 20 toughness 7 3-up saves, just because the way damage spell works, like it's very easy to put eradicators stuff into them and not be wasting the damage 3+ rolls. They only get to hold 1 point of space, so unless their damage output is really good, so like some of the Tyrannid monsters are really efficient right now. Keepers of Secrets get there because they have shooting, smiting, and combat to do it, and they act in a lot of phases. The Nightbringer just doesn't really do that. He's not fast enough. He doesn't act in enough phases. His Catan powers are good, but they don't control space quite well enough. They're good at like picking off an individual character or whatever, but it's just not what monsters are good at in 40k, which is getting into things and ripping down other big things in elite stuff. If you want them for controlling space, they're just less efficient model-wise, and the Nightbringer's trying to do that when you could run 10 Wraiths for the same points?
Yeah, 100%. It's exactly the same points for 10 Wraiths. Yeah.
That's kind of the problem with monsters, is they need to be super efficient and cheap in order to be good, which is why Keepers of Secrets and Demacarons are really good right now, and the Nightbringer's probably just not. Unless the buff box.
Yeah,
in which case, like Silent King.
That's the inherent problem that monsters, or single models, probably is a better way to describe it, have faced in Age of Sigmar for a very long time. Unless they are like, a bully piece, a problem piece, which I do feel Ghazghkull fits into. He's a slightly harder to kill. Like when he gets there, he does the thing. Like he does buff stuff around him as well. I think like he fills that role. But I think single models, I think it's going to be a very, very interesting addition. I think in both rules and army lists, I think we're going to see a lot more bodies, weirdly, and a lot less single models. I really do think that there has to be a really good conversation as to why they're going in. Just like you pointed out, you're like, eradicators will just delete the thing. And it's like, cool, but those are bodies, not a single model. Like they really put. I feel like, I don't know, vehicles maybe should get like shoot. I'm not saying vehicles should get shoot twice.
Generally, I think shooting vehicles are a lot better at the moment because you get to use them for 5 turns. So things like tank commanders, exocrines, Redemptor dreadnoughts are all pretty good right now because they're not super expensive and they outrange stuff like eradicators. You don't need to be within that 24-inch sight range. Melee vehicles and monsters specifically are what I think are struggling because you're trying to play a control space game, but you're also which means you have to get close to them, which means that you're getting into range of all these very deadly, like shorter range weapons and getting punched back. I think range stuff is fine. I don't think there's too much wrong with that, but melee stuff is really needs to be very powerful in order to be worth the time of day.
Or very cheap, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. One or the other.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good conversation, especially with something like Mortarion coming out soon with Death Guard. I think
just give him max 3 wounds of phase and leave him at 18.
Make him T8 and it's you want it. You want T8 Mortarion.
T8 save, come on.
There it is.
Be a man. Accept the Mortarion's going to kill your army and try and score the mission.
You can always shoot him. Balls out. 7 is 8. Let's go.
What about melee units that can teleport deep strike? There's a question that's coming from the chat. And there's been a conversation done already about how good the 2020 Battle Force boxes are for viable, playable models. Not really, Greco, I don't think. I mean, there's the boxes are good, generally, and they're also really good value as well. I think you save like 60 quid on a box.
The Christmas ones.
Yeah, the Christmas
they're probably
ones.
like 180 quid-ish, 180 to 200 quid for 125 retail. It's not bad. The Nid one's great. You can definitely get away with the Nid one. I've not really looked at the other ones.
I mean, some of the Age of Sigmar ones are not. They're weird. They don't even have units from the same faction in it, which is just like there's a bunch of ogres that are gargants. Like, all right, lads, I'm here. It's like, why are you here? Like, how did you sneak in?
Because they just got a book. You got to market them when you can.
Anyway, but yeah, they look like good prices. Anyway, should we talk Deathwatch?
Just before I do that, I just want to say something very funny I just saw. So I am looking at the Army Painters tweet about supporting local stores.
It's a good one.
And you know how when you scroll down the comments...
Wait, can you give everyone context of what it is?
So the Army Painter, it doesn't really matter too much. But the Army Painter are basically just saying, rather than doing a Black Friday sale, they're encouraging people to support their local shops, right? Mm-hmm. So at the bottom of the comment section on every tweet, there often ends up with a box saying, underneath this, you may see some offensive comments. So it specifically says, show additional replies, including those that may contain offensive content. So I clicked it, and the comment that it revealed is a comment from a guy, and it just says, thank you for offering wonderful hobby products.
That's
What?
very offensive.
That is offensive.
Come
That
on.
is
Some
offensive.
people might find army painted products offensive because some people have had some issues with the
Wonderful.
sprays, but
I never have.
I haven't. So I'm just saying some people they might find that offensive.
It'd definitely be more appropriate under like what was the one that was advertising the war stuff?
Oh yes, AK Interactive.
Yeah,
Oh, dear.
it'd definitely be more appropriate under that.
I think advertising the war stuff is a very nice way of using genocide to sell their products.
Yeah,
was
no,
the-
I didn't want to like call out someone by mistake, you know.
Yeah. Although I've been using the streaking grime recently, it's actually quite good.
Oh, wait, what now?
Streaking grime, Tom.
It's
Oh,
made with
my.
authentic orphan tears.
Is that like a music subgenre that Logan might be into?
Yeah, streaking grime. Naked,
Streaking grime.
naked London grime.
Oh yeah.
Greco, unless I took a deep dive on the boxes, I wouldn't know if the Necrons or Gloomspite Gits. The Gloomspite Gits is a good box, the Christmas box. The Necrons one, I don't know if you've seen the Necrons box or think it's.
Goonhammer have a breakdown of all of them. If you want to go and have a dive into that, it's on their website. They go through all the units and stuff like that. It's much more efficient than we're going to be with our time.
Yeah, exactly, and in greater detail as well. And I'll put them in the chat. Right, okay, I will not drink the AKA Interactive Streaky Grime, so get out of it, Idris. Right, okay,
I
Codex
will
Deathwatch.
drink my paint water. It's full of healthy plastics.
Delicious.
Yeah. Right, okay, so let's I'm going to top down the Deathwatch book for you guys, if that helps. So Deathwatch is, if you want to collect Deathwatch, you need the supplement to the Marine book, but you also need the Marine book, because really, most of the units, in fact, actually all of the units are in the Marine book, apart from the Black Star and the Watchmaster. And then effectively you just build stuff from Marines, and you paint them black and a bit of silver, and then you've got yourself a Deathwatch army, basically. And then you get some additional rules. You get a lot of additional rules. I'm gonna just start off with, like, number one, I actually think it's really cool. Like, so I'm gonna put that in there before anyone gets up. Why are you always complaining? But fuck, it's complicated. Like, do you not
Agreed.
like?
Yeah.
Like it kind of. Go on.
I'm just agreeing with you. It's a complicated book. I think there's a lot of rules all over the place that apply to certain things and not others, and yeah.
Yeah. Have you got any thoughts on this, Tom?
On what, sorry, specifically?
Like the fact that it's complicated, I think, and convoluted. I think
the
they try.
Deathwatch book, yeah.
I think they try really hard to explain it. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's still, like, even as like an experienced player, you think, fuck, this is a lot of shit that I don't want to read. Like, I don't know.
I feel like
It's a
gonna be
lot of
easier-
looking at a lot of data sheets.
Yeah, that's the thing. Once you've got it, I think you've got it. It's just a case of initially it's getting over the hump of understanding what exactly is going on.
If you already know what an Eradicator and an Outrider and everything does, you're probably like basically fine once you get a couple of games in with it. But to just look at it and be like, okay, how do I make something that works? It's not easy. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of figuring out, does this rule apply to everything in the unit or just the one model? Like, there's a thing that basically says, if a rule says that every model in the squad must have it, you only get it if every model has it. So I had someone ask me, like, can you put Outriders in the squad and Combat Squad it? Because they don't have Combat Squads. But you can, because the rule just says, if this unit contains models. And it's like, oh, this is confusing.
Yeah.
Because this rule not every model has, but every model gains. It's
And then there's like, because there's like an example like that, but then also like Eradicators, if they're in a unit, they can use their ability to shoot twice, but no one else can. But then
From their unit.
yeah. So if they're in the unit, they can shoot twice, but no one else can. But then if you have a fly model in the unit, everyone needs to fly to be able to fly.
Yeah, and if you build a specific kill team, so you build a kill team that has intercessors in, it loses the intercessor keyword, meaning you can't use the stratagem to shoot twice from the Codex, because you can use all the stratagems that are in the Marine book. Yes, however, you can just take intercessors not in a kill team, and then you can shoot them twice.
Yes, it's once you add additional models to the squad, it starts losing keywords and gaining. It's all designed in such a way that prevents abuse, but it makes it very hard to grok. Is basically the gist of it.
Yeah, and I think that's a really fair review. Again, Will Dockrell, gorgeous way of putting it. Keywords spread out, but abilities don't. Keywords spread, but abilities don't. Is a nice way of kind of breaking it down. But it was like I read through it once, like a couple of weeks ago, and I've read through it again, like in detail today to make sure I'm like super up to date. And I was just like, where do you start building an army in your head? You're like, okay,
15 chapters.
Oh yes, but like there's the quick answer, and then there's the like, what do I do sort of a situation. So like we'll start off with the core kind of ability that you get, which is the detachment abilities, effectively, which is mission tactics. Now, mission tactics is different. Like I'm sure you'll know from you'll all know if you're into 40k that if you do take Marines, there are 3 doctrines you get which affect different units inside. They affect 3 different types of units over the course of the game, and then you go through. I mean, doctrines in a year have had like at least 2 versions. It's only 2, right? Or is it?
Yeah, 2.
2 and some nerfs on top of that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they've had 2 versions, and then now there's and now they're like set in stone. And now this mission tactics, they allow you to choose which doctrine you go in, as opposed to go through the doctrines in order, which seems really strong. But there is some caveats. You can only choose Devastate doctrine once, Tactical doctrine twice, and Assault doctrine 3 times. As we get into it later, there are ways that you can move that around as well. But what do you guys think of that? Like off as our first port of call.
I think it's way stronger than the Marine one, just because I think the Marine one struggles like Devastator doctrine, like when I was playing Iron Hands back in the Wild West of the Marine days, was you stayed in it forever and your heavy weapons were always amazing. But it's not as good nowadays because you're in Devastator doctrine turn 1, and most of the time your opponent is going to be hiding turn 1, so you can't get that much use out of it. But I think on this one, you can plan for when your Devastator doctrine's going to be. So you can build more towards using stuff like that. So yeah, turn 3, I'm going to drop everything down and shoot stuff with my heavy weapons. Or if you're like a turn 1 combat army, you can be the combat doctrine straight away. And the fact that you choose, it's not predetermined, is it? Like you choose at the start of each turn.
Yeah.
So it's way more flexible. Like the Necron one, you have to set in stone, I'm in this protocol, blah 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 blah, but because you can choose, it's just way flexible and way more stronger than the normal Marine one.
So I was thinking about this earlier today, and I'd like your thoughts on it. Like, it's really hard. Like, I was wondering what I would try and do. Like, I didn't spend ages on it, but a Rob rumination moment. I was like, how would I try and like express through rules the tactical like knowledge and nuance that Marines are meant to bring with them? They're not just like physically strong. They're like soldiers who've like planned and strategized for war for centuries. They're like excellent tacticians as well as like just like swole boys who want to punch you in the head. And how do they do that? And it kind of makes sense, like specifically mission tactics, and I guess the doctrines, like, but the ability to move the doctrines about kind of does like maybe add to that a little bit. I quite liked it narratively at least, but it does feel like it's strong. Tom, Inez, you got any thoughts?
I like it in that it's not the raw power that you get from the chapter specific doctrines. Like you don't have the White Scars +1 damage or the Iron Hands ignore movement power penalty and reroll 1. So it's very much you're just getting the baseline rules from the Marine Codex just in an order that's slightly different. And I don't think it's particularly abusive. I think it just lets you create a slightly more interesting power dynamic where you don't have to, if you want to use all your heavy weapons, go for that hard front alpha. You can definitely go for more of a reserve strategy where you bring it out on turn 3 and go for like a big hit then. It lets you sort of, in base Space Marines, you're very much encouraged to go turn 1. If I want heavy weapons, I want to deliver like a devastating alpha. My drop pod comes in turn 1 with all my Grav Devs. My Iron Hands Dreadnoughts rip through stuff turn 1, right? But Deathwatch gives you the option to be flexible at the cost of some of that raw power, which I really quite like.
Yeah. Tom, you got any thoughts on it?
Pretty much the same, to be honest.
Okay.
Like one of the things I had when I was playing against Marines is like I played against Marines on Tuesday, and one of the things he really tried to do was he absolutely just lobbed a bunch of stuff forward so that you could try and get some alpha strike down. It didn't really work, and then he was out of position, so I was able to punish his dreads. Whereas I really like that flexibility. I think personally, I think it'll be better, but like it depends on who's playing it, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it seems strong. It definitely does, especially as you can apply it. And again, like that doesn't become particularly confusing. That's fine. I'm very okay with that. Like ultimately, we got a breakdown. Actually, let me just go get it. Nick, there we go. There's a graphic on the on the screen. Do you want to take us through some of this, Nick? Because we're on strats now, basically.
Oh my word!
Oh my word! Exactly.
Let's
It's
have a
not
look
that
at this.
pretty. So basically, the table's just the strats in a nutshell. So they've got 18 strats, and I just sort of boiled them down into a bit of a nutshell.
And you can also use the Marine strats as well.
Yeah, so they have. I can't remember how many strats the Marines have. Let me have a quick look.
It's
They
like
have like
40.
Yeah, they've got. So they have 34, and then Deathwatch have 18 as well. So they've got all those strats available to them. So I just did another bit of breakdown of sort of broadly what their effects are. Again, a lot of them focus on damage, a couple of them on debuffs. They've got the classic extra Warlord trait and Relic ones, and a couple of movement shenanigan ones. Again, there's very little. I think this is definitely a trend that we've seen in the new codexes. There's very few three. I don't think there's any 3 CP stratagems. A lot of them are like very small buffs, 1 or 2 CP. So, yeah, and I do like that. You're sprinkling a few CP here and there for a few little buffs rather than wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Here's a massive CP dump from
I feel like one of the things you used to do before you went to a tournament was you would check the Deathwatch Codex to see what kind of strats they had, just in case you played them, because it was so unique, right? For example, if you were playing Eldar, you just couldn't move within 12 inches of a Deathwatch unless you really had to, because they'd be able to shoot you as soon as you come within 12 inch. And I think this is a similar thing. There are some here that I feel like are a little bit more of a miss. Innes, I don't know how you feel about Death to the Alien. I don't think it's too impactful at all, really, which is the anti-mid one.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
It's not at all. No.
Like
Whereas
it's infuriating if they get like if they've got something that's like really crappy that gets to punch above its weight for free.
True, but
like so if you get charged by like 10 assault interception,
Yeah.
but it's not really a big. It's not a thing.
Yeah.
It's not something you really care about.
Yeah, I also think the Eldar one's a little bit underwhelming now. It's a lot worse than the previous one, which I am eternally grateful for. It is now ignore hit modifiers versus Eldar and shooting with a single unit when the maximum modifier now is -1 anyway. You just kind of like, well, it's.
I think the names are slightly wrong, right? Because Synaptic Severance is the anti-nid one, not Death to the Alien.
Right, okay, it's fine. It's okay. Well, either way, we know if you've got these stratagems, so we can just go through it. It's fine. The Necro one's okay, I guess. I think the Orc one is big. I think the Orc one really.
It's very similar. It's very similar to the previous one they had, because they did have one like that where I think every model they killed.
Yeah, every model they killed was -1. It's significantly weaker now.
It is significantly weaker, but you still have to respect it, though, right? For example, if you're trying to go for a long bomb charge of the Orcs, then it causes you big issues. But if you're trying to go for a shorter charge, obviously it's a lot more useful. But what it does mean is you've got effectively a second unit that can Overwatch as well. So it's not just even a -2 charge. It's like, well, I can Overwatch with a normal base strat once, and I can Overwatch with this as well, and that's going to cause you some issues. But yeah, it's significantly weaker than the previous one, but it's still, there's a reason why
it's still strong.
Yeah, there's a reason why Evil Suns is basically mandatory for a competitive Orc army because the +1 to charge is so valuable.
Yeah,
and
I
so
think the important point here is, like, and I agree with Nick's take on it as well. Will's asking in the chat, by the way, if these would be available online. I'll put them in the Honest Wargamer Discord afterwards. The slides, which have all been done by Nick. So Nick, thanks for doing them. Put them in the Discord so people can use them and other content creators can take them off us. The slides, not slides, the strats. I agree with you, Nick. Like pretty much across the field now, they don't seem as strong generally, but what they are is more specialized, which I quite like. Like some of the stuff that you previously got for free with Deathwatch, you know, like the ability to fall back and shoot. Let's say if you had a biker in, which you I think in 8th you just got.
Yes, and I hated the fact that Deathwatch bikers were so good because they could all have a chainsaw. They're all veterans. They did, I think, at that point have special issue ammunition, and then the fallback and charge thing,
and they could have storm shields.
Oh yeah,
storm shields will do.
Yeah, like I'm glad that's now moved back to a stratagem, because it's still good, it's still there, but it's on one unit and it's going to cost you something.
It means you've now got options for counterplay against it. You can like tag multiple units. You could use stratagems like Vect or Sandrek's ability to stop it. You have more options to deal with it now, and they actually cost them a resource. Whereas before it was just I put a Vanguard Vet in each of my 4 squads, and now you can never stop them shooting.
Yeah, and I think same with the Teleportarium, right? Previously, where you could use not Teleportarium. Sorry, I don't mean that one. What's the other one I meant? I don't know which one it was. Doesn't matter.
What?
It doesn't matter. Were there any standout ones for you? Obviously, you've got being able to make your warlord have 2 warlord traits. That's a big deal.
Can you give a warlord 2 warlord traits? Or do you have to give it to a separate guy?
Yeah, you can give.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can. All the supplements have give your warlord a second warlord trait.
I thought I read it and it was explicitly saying that you couldn't give it to the same guy. Let me just check it again.
You can't give it to a named character, but like Hero of the Chapter is the one from the base codex that lets you give other characters warlord traits.
Yeah, I had to read it. I had to read it like twice today to make sure like that was like I was reading it right. I was like 2. I was like fucking baller.
That's a relic one. 1 second. I'll find it.
You can do like you can use it to give him the warlord trait for a second relic as well. So you can do like the mastercrafted weapon and artificer armor, Sagas or whatever. There's a lot of really cool things you can do with it. The Deathwatch warlord traits are quite good. I've seen people running the heal 3 additional wounds with your Tech Marine Iron Hands to have a Tech Marine running behind a Dreadnought healing 4 wounds every turn.
Yeah.
Just kind of ridiculous. So there's a lot of cool things you can do.
The relics are pretty good in here as well. Like,
well, yeah, we should get onto those, but yeah, it's just like what I like about it is it's not as strong. Like now we're seeing more of these strats from more of these codexes. They're not as impactful. They're more choice based. They're like, I've got a choice to make. The problem for me is on top, like if I hadn't read this codex and I was playing someone, I was like, what the fuck does your stuff do? And they'd be like, listen, it's easier for me to not tell you, just find out.
What is nice
every game I play
is that now that all this flexibility, it's still locked onto your list. So it's not like before where if you had the ability to have 4 warlord traits and 7 relics in a Space Marine army, you would be able to change them every game. You at least have to lock it in so your opponent can look at your list before the game and say, okay, I need to look up what these 3 things do. I know what the rest does, whereas before you had to look at everything to know which combination is going to screw me this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's a great change for like match play and for general tournament play as well. I think that's excellent, and I just think the stratagems generally are fine. Like when we get onto now we're into the onto the kill team specialisms. So if you.
Do you know what to talk? Are we finished talking about strats?
Oh no, please do. No, give me your presentation.
No. I've not got a presentation. I just want to talk about some strats that I like. So
okay, yeah, please do.
I really like the special issue loadout one. So that's the last one they have. It is a 2 CP one. Basically, you can give a Deathwatch infantry unit, which doesn't have the special issue ammunition rules. Apart from bolt sniper rifles, and give them the special issue ammunition rules, but their weapon type changes to heavy 1. So this is a way that you can have, like, let's say, I think the best unit to use this on is a 10-man intercessor squad with the heavy bolt rifles.
Stalker bolt rifle, yeah.
They're the Stalker, so they're already heavy ones, so you're not losing out there.
Can't Stalkers already take special ammunition anyway?
No, special ammunition is only for the veterans now. It's only basically based on the regular firstborn squads with their bolt guns. Even bikes don't get it now.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. So it's super limited. So this is a way to put it on a different unit. So I like to put it on the intercessors with the heavy Stalker bolt rifles because like you're not losing out on changing the weapon type to heavy 1, not losing out on any shots or anything like that. You're gaining all the bonuses from the special issue ammunition, and then you can use the 2 CP strat with them to shoot twice. So you're getting double benefits from this stratagem as well. And
yeah, I worked this out earlier. Like if you were to do a 10-man squad doing that, you would be firing 20 shots that are AP3 damage 3. Like it's just grim. Like
hey, that sounds familiar. I like it.
Yeah.
Only strength 4, so you need to get like the chaplain litany for +1 to wound on them or something like that. Yeah, but yeah, it's definitely 6. A powerful option.
Unlucky.
And it's also like a very accessible option for a lot of people. Like Tenet Intercessors is easy to pick up and like put on the board. And I think one of the arguments for this book as well, and Nick, you've done it there, is some of the stuff that we'll look at in a minute. It really behoves you, in my opinion, to take more dudes on the board. Generally, there's a psychic power and a warlord trait, which I think leans into that for me. But that's just my play style and what I see it as. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that's super strong, very strong. Has anyone got any other favorite strats?
I have another one.
Oh yeah, please.
Shroud Field. So again, it's a war gear stratagem. Shroud Field is specific on for the specific Deathwatch plane Corvus Blackstar. So basically, it makes you can't be targeted. So you use this at the start of the first battle round, select one Corvus Black Star, and to the end of the battle round, that unit can't be selected as a target for range attacks unless it's the closest eligible model. So flyers now have a weakness of always being able to be seen, basically. They can't benefit from obscuring terrain. So you're in the open a little bit, whereas other tanks have the benefit of being able to hide. So this is just, 2 CP. If you're having a Corvus Black Star with like a veteran squad in or whoever in, that you want to get into the middle of the table or across the board, you can use that to keep it alive turn 1. So you actually get some value out of it. So I really like that. And you could even use it turn 1, drop off your guys, and then fly off and go back into strategic reserves with it if it survives and stuff like that. So I really like that one.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. I like Clavis. Can I shout Clavis? Oh no, sorry Tom, you got something to say?
No, it's fine. I'm just not sure because it basically means that you only take 1 Corvus Black Star over, right? Because otherwise, if you're taking 3, then you're still going to lose 2, right? If you're worried about them being shot. So
you also need 2 detachments to take 3 now, right? Which is
not
really
that's
what
true.
Marines want to do.
Yeah. So but then you don't take 2. You still only take 1.
It makes 1 a nice tech piece. It makes 2.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at it now, and I'm seeing if it's worth.
You can have 1 on the board, and you can have 1 in strategic reserves.
Okay.
You might also have 1 place you can put 1 where it's going to be out of range of your opponent, and the other one can deploy more aggressively and to be able to use deployed troops on turn 1 stuff like that, right?
I'm just having a look and seeing if I think it's worth it.
And also to not to trigger anyone from the WTC, but you can also take something like the Forge World Drill, and so you can have the. There's a terrain book.
Why do AdMech have their own book?
Yeah. Anyway, so you could double up the drill and also the Black Star at the same time, and potentially drop out 2 things that aren't being targeted from 2 places is another way of doing it. But that's only if you really, really want to do that. The most frustrating thing, says Camelot, about playing Deathwatch is trying to get enough of their special Terminator shoulder pads for all the heavy intercessors I want to run. Okay, all right, that seems fair.
Yeah.
I really like Clavis. I think this is fun. So you use stratagem to start the fight phase at an enemy vehicle within 1 inch of a Watchmaster unit from your army. Suffers D3 mortal wounds, but to the end of that phase, it's not eligible to fight until after all of the units in your army have done so. So you could just run into a dreadnought and try and duff him up. Probably not a great stratagem, truth be told. It's got to be your
Very
Watchmaster.
funny on a night.
Yeah. Oh my god, that would be funny on a night. Yeah. You just let a billion intercessors try and punch
stand
into
there for a bit.
But yeah, that's okay, I guess. But not brilliant. Someone in the chat wanted me to talk about Brotherhood of Veterans, or have you guys?
Oh yes, I was just about to go there.
Go on, you go there, Nick.
The Brotherhood of
Diving in. So it's a strategy that using your command phase, and you select a Deathwatch unit, and then you select 1 chapter tactic or successor chapter tactic from the Space Marine Codex. Until the end of that turn, models in that unit have that chapter tactic. So it's kind of like
instead
there was
tactics, they don't get both.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. Instead, yeah. So there used to be like I can't remember. It was in one of the campaign books, like Grey Shield something or other, where you could have an extra chapter tactic. So you can do some cool things like, if you want to be more resilient, you can make your guys Iron Hands for a turn and have a 6-up DPR, or you could go for something like Salamanders if you want to make the small units shooting a bit better, or you could go for something like White Scars if you want to leg it across the board and charge someone.
Outriders really like that one.
You like that one?
Outriders really like the plot, the becoming White Scars for a turn with their all 6 advance and then charge afterwards.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's quite a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty strong. It's 2 CP though. It's one of the stronger ones, right?
Yeah.
But again, I feel like you need good system mastery to really make the most of that. You have to understand. You already have to understand the Marine book really well to then be able to manipulate this element of the Deathwatch book quite well as well.
Yeah, because once you add in successor chapter tactics, you have a lot of options that you can choose from, and having the right one for the situation and knowing when you can act, when you can afford to use it, or when you don't really need to. It's a lot of it's quite difficult to skill master that, right? You've got to be very
system
prepared.
mastery. Yeah, a lot. I really don't feel like this is a book or army for people who are just trying to have a laugh. I really don't think it's that. I feel like you could mess this up fairly easy. But yeah, any other strats anyone liked, or?
I think we've covered most of the super interesting ones.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of very situational stuff like removing marker lights from Tau and things like that. But You know,
Well,
it's,
do you know what's quite good about that? Like, it's not that like there aren't any that are like outright like I can't be asked to read it. You know, like it's slim, but like there's a lot of playability on most of them that are there, right?
and there's nothing super bonkers where you're just like, I can't believe that this got through like QA.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
of course. Apart from the Marine book, which
Yeah, I
supports
mean,
this book.
but this isn't the Marine book, right? You know,
Yeah.
like the book it's based on is not responsible for Deathwatch's sins. That comes in psychic powers and
Do not
relics.
talk to me or my main codex ever again. Right,
Yeah,
so
the real sin is hidden in relics.
Yeah. There
well, yeah, I like it all, but yes, there is a bunch of sins there too. Right, so let's talk about kill team specializations. So basically, if you have a kill team, you can give it an upgrade. That upgrade is a flat amount. So like for Dominatus, it's like plus 25 points. For Furor, it's plus 35 points. By the way, Furor makes me think of the amazing Vin Diesel film with the Furians. If anyone's ever seen it.
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Just me. Pitch Black and its successor. Never mind. Chronicles
Oh,
of
really?
Riddick. Have you watched it?
I've seen the Riddick film, yeah.
Yeah,
but
the Fury.
none of the others.
No, well, it's fine. It's not. It doesn't matter. Anyway, but basically, you can upgrade a kill team in your army, which is with one of these things. You can only upgrade them once. You can only each one of the upgrades you can only apply into your army once. You can take all of the kill team upgrades, but you can only take each one once. And then what they basically do is you get to that unit gets to choose a battlefield roll, and they get to reroll wound rolls of 1 against it. And then if your main chapter tactic, which you can find inside the Marine book, if you've already chosen that roll to reroll 1s to wound against, then you can reroll all to wounds against them. I think I've got that right. Is that
Yeah.
perfect?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it's interesting, right? Like, and I think probably the one you'll always see is just, I think Furor is the right one. Get that right?
You'll probably see
the troops
one
Yeah.
unit that takes troops. Maybe
Yeah.
the rest are probably too situational.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that's Furor. Yeah, that's Furor. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, because
So, yeah.
the troops and heavy support Lord of War ones are the ones that are 35, and the rest are all 25, right?
Yeah, so Malleus and then Furor. So basically, you could have a unit that's rerolling all to wounds against troops, which is pretty brilliant.
Yeah, it's nice on stuff like Outriders or all bolt rifle intercessors, things like that, where you're gonna just get a bunch of low quality shots, and you can use them to try and clear your opponent's chaff. It relies on you picking that battlefield role. So if your opponent is playing a no troops army, like Tom is mostly, it's just kind of sunk points. But it's not a massively expensive upgrade. It's like what 35 points.
35 points.
Can't
It feels like
really
a safe
complain
bet.
too much.
It feels like a safe bet, but yeah, like I think it's super
I feel like I keep gravitating. Maybe it's because I played Chaos so much and Endless Cacophony. It's just in my DNA now. But I feel like I'm always gravitating back to the shoot twice stratagem with the intercessors. Because this again combos really well with it, doesn't it? Though
It does, yeah.
If in a set, if someone's got loads of troops and you're shooting twice with a lot of shots, you're getting so much value out of that, rerolling all the wounds. Like,
Well, it's like Innes was just saying, like, you know, like it's strength 4. He said a minute ago, he's like strength 4, AP 3, damage 3. It's like cool, but now it's strength 4, reroll into wound. That's significant. Do you know what I mean? Like that.
But there's not that many troops you're really worried about damage 3 against, other than custodes, really. And then single shot, it's just not that much. I don't know. I struggle with them. I don't think they're massively relevant because it's only one unit that can take it, and that one just gets focus fired first if it's a problem for your opponent. And you only get the rerolls if it's also something that your opponent's full army is. Because if your opponent's playing custodes, yeah, you might pick troops, or you might go for elites if they're running Aquilons, and then you're only getting reroll 1s. It's just not that much. I don't know. It's not sold me personally.
The other thing to point out about it is that it's a flat upgrade. So it's plus 25 points or plus 35 points or whatever to a unit. So if you're not taking a 5-man squad, you're maxing it out on that 10-man squad, which does lean into Nick's idea that he's gonna want to shoot twice and then spend some CP to take special issue ammunition. So you're just stacking resource into it. But I guess really troops are not the right thing in that situation. Maybe you pick a heavy support choice. And that's the upgrade, and you just look to see it's 35 points for an opportunity cost to go, right, I'm going to spend 2 CP for special ammunition, I'm going to spend 2 CP to shoot twice, I'm going to blitz whatever the fuck that heavy support choice is out of the water. But then really are there competent heavy support choices out there that you want that level of output for,
And do you need that output, or if you're going to run 5 Eradicators and give them rerolls to wound, you're already going to get reroll 1s. You're probably winning most things on 3 rolls 1s anyway. Is the efficiency worth 35 points, or could you just take an extra Eradicator? That's kind of where I'm at with it.
It's a great point. yeah, definitely. Those Eradicators must be sort of like freaking hotcakes, let's be honest.
Well, it's only because Deathwatch can't take attack bikes, so Eradicators are the best option.
Anyway, alright, so that's the kill team specializations, which is weird because we haven't yet got to the other kill team bit. So these are upgrades for kill teams, but we're still not yet at the kill teams part, which is a lot. Right, Warlord traits, next up. Has anyone got any Warlord traits they really enjoy at all?
I think I mentioned this earlier, but the extra relic, your Warlock can have 2 relics as a Warlord trait is really nice. You can put like a +1 damage or the 2-up save on a Smash Captain. I really like it with the Xenophase Blade that the jump captains can take. So you can have that go up to, I believe it makes your opponent reroll invulnerable saves, and you can put that up to damage 2, and then
Those
also
are
give
the
them...
relics, sorry, in this, right?
Yeah, but the Warlord trait gives you a relic.
Yes.
So you take that Warlord trait in order to double up on relics on a character.
So like relics on your relics.
Yeah, exactly. Why would you not want a character with two Warlord traits and 2 relics?
It's brilliant. And also, because thanks, Will Docker on the chat pointing out, Paragon of the Chapter, again, is one of the very interesting ones, but again, one of the super techie ones. So effectively, it allows your Warlord to have one of the Warlord traits from Codex Space Marine, but only the Warlord trait you get if... So let's say you choose Blood Angels from Codex Space Marine, you have to choose their... Warlord trait that they have, their chapter-specific one, and then it won't apply to later codexes or supplements, it says.
Yeah, it's just the one in the book, which for Blood Angels example is always fight first.
Yes, that's a good example. And then there are some unique ways to rebuild your army again. I mean, the infinite adaptability of the Marine book, like in successor chapters and everything else, there's a lot of optimization, which is optimization and customization, which is quite interesting. But again, there's loads of fringe cases there, like being able to take a Tech Marine, being able to buff him up. That's a fringe case, I think. That if that's what you wanted to do, I don't know why, but is there any? Did you guys see that yet?
Yeah, the Dark Angels one for more turns of Devastator Doctrine on stuff while you're in Tactical Doctrine is really nice if you've got a core of heavy shooting element.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the Salamanders one is +2 strength, which can be really nice as well.
That could be really nice, especially if you're building a smash captain, yeah.
Or a chapter smasher.
A chapter smasher. Chapter smasher. Oh, poor Sean Connery. Chapter smasher. I think he'd have loved that. I just, English, you don't have much of a Scottish accent, really, though.
I mean, I could put on more of one if you really want, but I don't think your viewers would appreciate it. At least give me a minute.
Have you seen Scottish people Twitter? I would very much like to read.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Look, you can't go around saying that shit, man. It's just fucking rude.
I want to see Scottish people Scottish Twitter battle reports. That's what I want. On ye fuck. Make me laugh. Anyway.
But that's the thing.
Sure, go on, mate. Get your fucking intercessors off the board. They did.
I've played Gavin Heritage before. It's fine.
Okay, all right. So that's Warlord traits. You guys seem very keen to talk relics. Very keen.
I wanted to talk about another Warlord trait, Rob.
Oh, please do.
So, the Ties That Bind is an aura one. So basically, Deathwatch core within 6 of that Warlord reroll morale test. So yeah, that's all right. But you can also pick one friendly Deathwatch core unit within 6 to become objective secured. So that's kind of cool. Objective secured is pretty decent nowadays because for those juicy primary points. So I think that's a pretty good one.
It's
so I
bad Rights of War.
Yes. Yeah, it's not quite as good as the Space Marine one, which is like 6-inch aura for everyone. Yeah. But yeah, one specific one.
It's nice for if you're going to send something shooting off to grab an objective, but I think it's too situational to be worth thinking over Rights of War.
Oh yeah, because you can have the
4 relics.
As well.
You could have 4 relics or 4 Warlord traits in a Marine list if you really want them. So you could take both.
Yeah, that's too many Warlord traits, if you ask me.
That's a lot.
Slightly too many.
Yeah. And the other one, which I thought was okay, was the optimized priority. And this is a 6-inch aura for everyone. It's Deathwatch core and characters. You can do actions and shoot at the same time. So it just gives you that chance to, if you wanted to like raise banners and still shoot, you can do that, or
See,
do scrambles and still shoot.
I think one of the things that we're going to see, like moving away, like had I seen none of the other secondaries from this book, the Marine book, the Necron book, I'd have been like, oh yeah, raise banners or deploy scramblers are going to be a thing. But like now, like that, you just double up on the most easy to achieve, like very, very easy to achieve. If anything, secondaries have become much easier to achieve, and those actions haven't really been given the credence.
Hashtag ban all faction secondaries.
True.
Is this a train that you're on already? Do you think?
Already,
Yeah.
yep. Been on it
Yeah,
since
yeah.
I saw Oath of Moment.
Okay. How does everyone in the Twitch chat feel? Tom, you got any thoughts on this?
Yeah, fuck them. Ban them all.
Bannable. Okay.
We were legit saying this like after the original secondaries dropped, right?
Yeah, yes.
When
True.
we knew faction-specific ones were coming in, we knew this was
Yep,
going to
we're
happen.
just going to stick to these ones. It'll be fun.
Yeah, we knew exactly what was going to happen.
There'll be one broken, one per book, except for the Xenos army. Xenos armies will get none.
All you need because you can only take one anyway, so it might as well be free.
Like Space Wolves have make 2 charges a turn. What
Yeah.
are Space Wolves going to do anyway?
They're going to charge.
Wow, this is such a difficult secondary.
Yeah, I mean,
Just kill your opponent's Warlord turn 1 for 13
with
VP.
Space Marines, it's even
Or make-
worse because you can
make
get access to
8
2
charges.
because your supplement books.
Yeah.
Like, we've already been through this. You can take the Flaming Oath of Moment with Marines, and you can take this Deathwatch, like any of these Deathwatch ones as well. You've got basically guaranteed 30 points in the pot.
Yeah. This. Well, we haven't got there yet, but yeah, when we do
And
get
then
there.
you just need to build around like one secondary from the main fucking like book, and then you're fine.
Well, let's go there now because we've jumped to it. So we'll go through them. So specifically, no mercy, no respite, which is an end game objective. Sorry, no mercy respite is the the category. Yeah, that it's in, right. So suffer not the alien. So score 1 victory point at the end of each battle of the battle for each enemy Tyranids Eldar. Basically a like a Xenos unit. So if you play Xenos, you basically get a free victory point every time you kill something, which is already what you're doing anyway, and you can already double. And because it's no mercy respite, you can double that up with purge the enemy, can't you? And so yeah, like
Yeah, but you can't use Curl Order. Like those aren't the names of the traits. Those are the categories they're in.
yeah, purge the enemy is the category it's in.
Yes, so you can't take Curl Order and Suffer Not the Alien.
No, it's in No Mercy Net. We're talking about but you couldn't take them both anyway because they're both Deathwatch.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But
Yeah,
you could
but-
take it with like.
So it's not like you
or
stack
whatever.
this with Purge the Enemy, because Purge the Enemy is a category, not an actual individual one.
Yeah, but you can stack it with something from purge the enemy.
Yes, you
That's what
can.
I'm
Yes, you
trying
can.
to say,
That's true. That's true.
That's what I'm trying to say. Because like if you're already doing Bring It Down, which is
Yeah.
no mercy, no respite, yeah, then you're just doubling up, like, and you're just getting 30 victory points for hanging out. So that's a super strong one. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
It's the most broken secondary ever.
But it is
I think
useless
no.
if you're not playing. If you're not
That's
playing,
why it's the most broken secondary, because it just says Deathwatch only get 3 faction secondaries unless they're playing Xenos where they get 15 points. It's not interesting game design to me.
agreed.
Yeah, I feel like it's not as good as Oath of Moment personally. But I agree, it's not like inspiring.
What category is Oath of Moment in?
Fuck's
Oh,
sake!
don't worry, boys. I'm full of
Good question.
books.
I've got
Yeah?
it here. I've got
Call
the
me,
book here.
call
The
me
only reason is
librarian
that
Rob.
I feel like with Oath of Moment, it's just so easy to max, right? Whereas with this one, it forces your opponent to play in a conservative manner. But are you
Oath
guaranteed
of the moment
to
is
kill 15 units a turn?
in no
So-
mercy, no respite. So you can't do both.
Yes. So I would take Oath of Moment.
Yeah, but you can take but if you're playing against like MSU Tau or anything like that, where they've got like 10 units of shield
Oh hell
drones,
yeah, hell yeah! dude.
it's like the
100%.
easiest It's just so punishing to exist as a Xenos army into this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like at least with no Oath of the Moment, you have ways to interact with it. You can like try and stop your opponent killing your vehicles, or you can try and make them fail morale tests. You can't interact with your opponent killing your units other than to not let them kill your units, which just
Well-
means you're going to lose the game.
I feel it depends on how you're doing it.
Well, you
as
can
but-
interact with them by killing all of their units before they kill any of your units.
That's called 7th edition, and apparently
I-
people don't want to go back to that. So.
I feel like this is easier to get 10 points on, but I feel like Oath of Moment is easier to max. Because the way you interact with Oath of Moment is you try and force your opponent out the center. You can try and make them fall back and what have you, and that makes them make a decision, well, do I fall back and lose a point? But then if it's kill a vehicle, then they've got that point back anyway.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
I also-
it's one of those
I also
middle
feel
ground
like-
ones. It's one of those middle ground ones where I feel like either is fine, but I feel like if you're going for a 100-point win or whatever, you go for Oath of Moment.
I just wish it didn't exist. More
Oh
than
yeah,
anything
well,
else.
we can agree on that one. Yeah, absolutely.
So that one just feels rough.
It just
generally.
feels bad. Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you then go for cripple, like you read Cripple Stronghold and you like read the 3 paragraphs and you're like, I'm not doing it. Like,
Kill a unit 1 point, or do this complicated thing a couple of times.
Yeah, it's like
Really hard to do.
having to read that paragraph is not worth the VPs it might be worth to me.
It's also not worth the time to read it out to you guys at home. I just need you to know that. Like,
It might be. I mean, it might be useful to read that paragraph if it's really late. If it's like late at night, you've got insomnia, you can't sleep.
You like
Read
pick an
that.
objective. Your opponent like picks an objective like in their half, and you have to go and do an action on it for 6 points. So you have to go to your opponent's half with a Deathwatch unit, and then do an action for a turn, and it takes a turn. So you have to spend like turn 2 to turn 5 on your opponent's objective to max this. Do not take it. It is very bad.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's really bad. If they push you off once, you don't win.
I'm going to be honest, I haven't even learned how to do actions yet. I have
Give
no
up.
That's great.
I have no need to learn how to do this shit.
Do you want a quick guide now, Tom? Or
Nah, I don't care enough.
He's gonna forget anyway. It's fine.
see you later, Gozzy. Big love to you in the chat.
Bye, Gozzy.
Bye,
Shout out to Gozzy.
No.
Okay, well, I love how Tom's like, I'm going to do Comp 40k, but I'm not even going to learn actions. But I think, Tom, your point is right, because things like Stuff and Not the Alien and Oath of the Moment, etc., they really cheapen and also water down any of the actions. The actions were something I was very excited about when they launched 40k.
I could do something automatically anyway.
Yeah,
Why would I
but now,
take raised banners when I can just kill you?
Yeah.
which I'm already doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Or just take scramblers and just sit there. Right.
Scramblers requires actions, Tom.
Does it? I thought you just drop shit in people's fucking deployment zones.
I mean that too, but you have to also not shoot and not charge.
You've done it with me. You've played a game where you've done it, so it's fine. You know
Well,
what
you
you're
didn't
doing.
do any scrambling because I did some shit, didn't I?
Oh, I can't remember. It's fine. Right, okay, so let's look at so that we'll ignore shadow operations. Battlefield Supremacy. The long vigil. Score 5 victory points at the start of your command phase if there are no enemy units, excluding aircraft, within 6 inches of your deployment zone, and there are at least one Deathwatch unit to an aircraft from your whole army wholly within your deployment zone. You cannot score the secondary objective during the first battle
It's
round.
anti-line breaker, and some armies can't stop you scoring it.
Feed me!
Yay!
feed stuff into my face or lose the game in 3 turns. Hooray!
Yep. Fun, interesting, and balanced, guys. You can take that and Oath of Moment. So while you're pushing the center, your opponent has to run past you.
And also, it's in Battlefield Supremacy. Is that one of the lesser taken ones? Like,
That's the one with like engaging off fronts and shit.
Oh right, yeah. So it is because like if like engagement on fronts is like
Marines
super
don't
hard
really
to like
take that because you just
no.
take Oath of Moment.
Yeah, or this,
Or both.
or both way.
Oh no, I have to have something into my deployment zone and stop you going to mine. Okay, were you doing that anyway? No? Cool, I'll take 15.
At least
Thanks.
it's not the Necron one where you count it at the end of your turn rather than the start. Let's put it that way.
Aren't Harlequins a decent counter for this one?
Yeah, but you just don't pick it against Harlequins, right?
Yeah.
You just take
true.
you just take Suffer Not the Alien and kill 15 of their units.
Yay!
Good point, well made.
Good point, well made. Yeah.
It's like see all those boats full of very squishy 4-wound toughness 3 1-wound models that I have 100 bolt guns to shoot at. Cool. Every single one of them I kill is 2 victory points.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Thanks
You
for
see
playing.
those MSU armies that are going to do really well against a secondary? Well, I'm just not going to pick it and take the one that kills you. It's just fine.
Yeah, I'll take that and grind them down. Let's have fun.
Yeah.
See, at least it makes make it playing the primary far more important. Like if the secondaries are just basically auto 15, like then you have to worry less. Like
All
and
4. We've still got scramblers.
okay. you still got to try and deploy them scramblers at some point. And then the other one, purge the enemy. If you have selected the secondary objective, then after both sides have finished deploying, starting with your opponent, both players alternate selecting battlefield roles. So your opponent starts first. So if me and Nick were doing it, he would get to choose, then I would get to choose, then he would get to choose the last one. And then if the opponent's army does not include any blah, 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 at the end of the battle, for each battlefield role that was selected, score 5 victory points for every enemy unit in your opponent's army with that battlefield role that has been destroyed.
If every unit with that battlefield role.
Yep.
So you got to kill all their HQs or all their troops for 5 VP.
Wait a minute.
It's very strong.
This is very bad.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like it's not good. Like it's hard to do. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I deploy against Tom, and he goes, okay, you have to kill all my HQs. I'm gonna hide this one at the back of the board. and then you go, okay, I'm going to kill all your troops, and he's got like 2 troop units, and that's fine. And then he goes, okay, and then you got to kill this fast attack choice, my 1 crypto thrall at the back of the board. Let's have fun. And then you play and you score 5 points, and it's terrible.
Yeah. Especially when
your opponent gets too much control over it.
Yeah, starting with your opponent is a big deal.
It's nice if your opponent's playing like a 2 battlefield role army where they've got like only HQs and troops, because then you pick HQs, troops, and fast attacks, and you. Cool.
So what you're saying is, if you're playing in the Games Workshop,
Yeah,
it's great.
If you're playing in Games Workshop against James Workshop, you might win. You might score this because he's taken like 2 fast attacks and 2 heavy supports.
We're playing against a fake James Workshop, mate.
You can't mention
not the
James
real
Workshop
one.
with Nick
It's
on
like
the
that
show.
Filthy Frank arc where he was replaced. It's basically the same thing.
Okay.
Nick will get super triggered.
I don't know
The
enough
real
Nikos
James
lore.
Workshop is actually pretty decent at the game, so.
Yeah,
I don't know enough Nikos lore. Sorry.
Nikos logo is pretty deep, dude.
it's pretty serious. I'm not gonna lie.
We need a Jack library to go along with James
Where's
Workshop.
the one
Nikos
lore
lore?
article about Nikos?
I'll write one. I've been writing those articles for years. No one's ever thanked me.
Nikos OC.
We're not going to thank you either. Every time I've read one, it's suffering. So.
Yeah, I mean, I like them personally. Whoever writes them is at least putting some effort in. Bless them.
I like that Goonhammer exists because they were fed up with people referencing 1D4chan.
Dude, we should get Goonhammer to do a Nikos lore segment.
We could ask.
Yeah,
we
I'm
could
available
ask.
for interviews.
Meet Watch Nikos.
Yeah.
At what
He is-
point in
he is
history
a
did he
hunk,
punch
so-
a kid? That's the real question.
Allegedly.
Allegedly punched a kid.
Unbiased history, Nikos.
Someone cried. All right, so those are the secondaries. Right, jumping back to the relics. Relics for days. I'm just going to jump in. My one, because I've got like apparently a Marine playstyle at this stage, is obviously the Dominus Aegeus. Which is just
the best relic.
yeah, all right, yeah, the obviously insanely good relic. Yeah.
Yes, excellent.
Why
choice.
does this exist,
A
guys?
Devidio Atamantic Purvey's relic.
Yeah.
Except that doesn't require you to like stay still anymore.
It's so dumb. So you add 1 to the armor saving throw made for the bearer. Excellent. So now I've got a 2-up armor save. And then the bearer has the following ability. While a friendly Deathwatch core or Deathwatch character unit, and they're all fucking core, aren't they? Are within 6 inches of the bearer, models in that unit have a 5-up invulnerable save.
This works on dreadnoughts.
Yay!
But it's
Why would
also
you
the
bother
fact that
casting Psychic Fortress?
Wait a minute.
you can't cast Psychic Fortress anyway.
Wait a minute. You just
Yeah.
have to toe in 6 inches.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even wholly within.
It's not
Yeah.
horrible.
It's toe
It's
in.
like a KFF on crack.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so good. Yeah,
So you know how you can run like 10-man squads with 5 Eradicators and 5 Heavy Intercessors?
now they've got a 5-up invulnerable save. So if you guys
And
go
a
back
5
and
up
listen...
tunnel pain, don't forget that.
Yeah. Well, I'll jump to that because if you listen to my list from the Marine show, I was obviously talking about like casting Psychic Fortress. Now it's free, no casting, and the better version of this is if you cast Fortified with Contempt, you can pick a unit. It's only cast on a 6 as well. You pick a unit, and it's got a 5-up DPR on top. So the whole army's got a 5-up invuln, and then one unit, like your most expensive unit, let's pick 5 Eradicators, 5 Heavy Intercessors, has got a 5-up DPR. You're
Hey
like,
guys, you remember Iron Hands?
Yeah.
Now they're back in their toughness 5.
To be fair, there is one redeeming quality that this relic has.
What is it?
It gives you a reason not to take the Tome of Ektaclades. Although
Please
you
tell
can
me-
take both.
You can take both. On the same character, you can take 2 of the same guy.
Actually, no, because the one for the World Trait has a limited list that you can take from. You can't just take anything, because otherwise you just take Teeth of Terror on him as well, and then run around like punching.
Can't you do the requisition? Am I wrong on that? The
Well,
sanction
so
of the Black Vault.
normally every character can only have 1 relic, but that particular stratagem allows you to have 2 on 1 character, but
But
one
it's
of them
from a
has to
limited
be
list,
from a limited
yeah.
list. Yeah.
Oh,
Like, Tome of
okay.
Ektaclades isn't one of them. So it's Adamantine Mantle, which is the 2-up armor, 5-up invul. Artificer, 5-up Film of Pain, 2-up armor, 5-up invul, +1 damage on a weapon, and then the Mortal Woundsy thing. So it's probably going to be either the 2-up save. So you actually have him with a 1-up save if you want, because why not?
Oh no, it's
Not
+1 to
not
armor.
like the good one, not the good 1-up save, like the invincible one. Just an actual 1+ armor save,
Okay,
like
sweet.
where you have like you ignore the first point of AP. It's not the mental version.
40k Bastillodons.
It's not a Bastillodon.
Yeah, honestly, when people you watch a new person get explained how it's a one-up invulnerable save that ignores red, their eyes like glaze over.
I enjoyed doing it when Mega Knobs had it for a while, when you had to try and explain to
issue
people.
with the storm shields.
Yeah.
Spots there.
Yeah, and you're sitting there explaining why. No, I get a 2+ save against your thermal lance. Fuck off.
And they're like, what? What? Anyway, all right, so let's break it down. So what does the Tome of Ektaclades do?
So once per battle and in your command phase, you can use the tome, and if you do, you select one data sheet used by an enemy unit from your opponent's army, and until the start of your next command phase, the bearer has the following ability, and that is an aura ability. While a friendly Deathwatch core unit is within 6 inches, so pretty much all your stuff, each time a model in that unit makes an attack against a unit belonging to that selected datasheet, you can re-roll the wound. So it's like Doom on roids.
Yep, it's pretty good.
Great, and I'm sure you with your 15 wraiths love it.
Yeah, I know. It just kills all the wraiths immediately.
And this is why I run a mix of Hormigons and Termagants.
Yes, it's an excellent call. This is the solution to spam. It's not the rule of 3. It's just this relic.
The Tome of yeah, I know. My poor mech guns are triggered.
Yeah.
See,
So
the only thing
Tyranids have this as a warlord trait, but it only affects the bearer.
Can I just say
And
that
it's hit rolls, not wound
true.
rolls.
I don't like this existing.
And you're also not covered in guns in this. Let's be real.
Well, I mean, tyrants kind of were, but
Yeah, but that's still like one guy's
it's like 8 bolt guns, right?
Yeah, that's only 1 in 10 hive tyrants, mate. Like that's still 10%, not your entire fucking army.
Exactly. It was terrible. It still is.
So so like this is obviously brilliant, right? Because you would pick like a data sheet that you want to get rid of, and your whole army.
It sure is up there.
Yeah, it's pretty strong.
So my 3 Redemptor Dreadnoughts in my Dominus Aegis bubble have also got Doom. Let's have fun.
Yeah.
Are you having fun yet?
Yeah.
Well, what's nice is your opponent can do nothing to stop that.
I mean, you could kill the bearer.
Yep. That's true. I was thinking that a minute ago.
Just
I was
kill
like,
the bearer with all your snipers that nobody runs anymore because they're terrible.
yeah, but if you took one sniper like unit, maybe just for this exact situation, I'd probably.
But he's in the Dominus Aegis bubble. Like,
that's true.
Does the Vindicator ignore invulner saves?
yeah, but not armor saves.
Fuck. He's got to a armor save.
It's only AP neg 3.
Okay. All right. Well, that's not strong at all. So would you guys auto take both of those two things? Do you think?
Ektaclades is kind of a meta call. If you're going to be clumping up, yeah, but I don't think you need to have it.
Yeah.
There's other stuff like Vox Spiritum for +3 range on your Apothecary is still really good. Teeth of Terra is still amazing. Mastercrafting a Xenophase Blade. Like, there's a lot of options. Beacon Angelus is still amazing, which is the teleport ability.
Oh, Beacon Angelus is really good. We've got.
Do you want to explain what it does?
Ernest, do you want to go for it? Because I'm trying to.
So you pick a unit that didn't. If the bearer didn't arrive from reserves this turn, he picks a Deathwatch Infantry or Biker unit and redeploys it, like next to him.
Yeah, but outside of 9 of the opponent.
Outside that, yeah, standard redeploy.
Not your entire army, Italians. Thank you.
just one unit, and
Yeah,
that's
you
quite.
get to like pick up those Inceptors with their 18-inch range and go, you are here now, kill that for me, please.
Yeah.
Filthy peasants should leave.
Yep. Big on.
Or that movement 5 squad of Eradicators and Heavy Destroyers can just come and stand next to all your buffs.
Or just plonk it in the middle of the board for Earth's Moment. Hooray.
Exactly, that's 2 times of the moment. You're sorry.
Yeah. Easy.
It's also nice to dump them next to your Dominus Aegeus guy.
Yeah, you could also do it on a jump pack captain who can just like move his 12 plus d6 forward and then bring a very slow unit up to range. It's very good. You could also use it on units that are in strategic reserve, so if they were outflanking to get protected or teleportarium chamber, you can bring them in from there instead of coming off the board as you come in next to him.
Yeah, I think that's actually quite a sneaky bit of tech, because maybe you could be like threatening your opponent's flanks with a big scary unit in strategic reserve, like, oh, he's going to get you on the left flank or the right flank, and your opponent might divert resources over there to screen them out, but then you're like, well, actually, I'm going to bring him in next to this guy in the middle.
Yeah, it's really fun and interesting and interactive, and I'm not being ironic last time. It's actually a cool relic.
Okay. All right.
It's an interesting relic that's got cool game design, and it's weaker than it used to be because you have to actually have been on the board already now, and it was already a really strong relic, so I'm not upset about that one.
I think the ability for units to just nip around the board and redeploy. I mean, it's a smaller board anyway, so you don't necessarily, like, outside of 9, like, there's a lot going on anyway inside the game. So like they're fringe cases, I think in some ways. It also helps deliver some melee units into the right place at the right time, I guess. Instead of having to just have them run across the board, they could just be pitched up at the back, waiting for the enemy deep strikers maybe. But
Nice
generally
and safe.
nice
Yep.
and safe, hiding away, and then they're like, then whenever you decide to like just go all in, guns blazing, they come, and now they're ready to rock. Or maybe even just drop them from that brilliant line of sight piece blocking terrain that's in your deployment to the really good mid-board line of sight blocking piece of terrain that like means that they're going to jump out next turn, whatever the situation. Just it's it's really cool. That's super fun.
Do you want the really fun one?
Yeah,
Oh,
please.
just one more thing on this relic.
yeah,
A
go for
funny thing that I think you could do with it is you could have some Terminators that are on the board. You could redeploy them to this guy using that relic, and then they could use their own teleport home at the next turn to jump somewhere else in the battlefield. So these Terminators could really fly about the board.
These boots weren't made for walking.
Yeah,
True.
teleporting.
Just
Boots are made
teleporting
for
all day.
tele-
Turn 1, they turn through the deep strike, turn through the teleport, turn 4, they teleport. Easy.
Yeah.
Terrifying. Okay. What was the other one? Sorry, what's the fun one?
Artificer Bolt Cache. Bolt weapon.
Oh yes, I like
The bolt weapons the bearers arm with gain special issue ammunition. This is one of those relics that can be taken by sergeants, such as Centurion sergeants, equipped with a twin heavy bolter and hurricane bolter, which all then become whatever special issue you want, such as damage +1. So you can have this Centurion guy just walking around with like 12 hurricane bolter shots at damage 2 and 6 heavy bolter shots at damage 3 for fun and profit.
Banner.
Yeah, that's pretty scary. That's pretty scary.
Unfortunately, he has to bring 2 other Centurions with him, which is the sad part. But
What a waste of points. 2 other Centurions.
what is this, 7? What is this, 8th edition? 3 whole Centurions in my army?
Or 7th edition.
Or 6th edition.
Or 6th edition.
Gav was really good, guys. I don't know if anybody knew that, but
It's good,
Yeah,
good time
man.
for all, I heard. Right, so the next thing, relics, loads of strength there. Like I feel like that Dominus one is something you build armies around, right? That's how it feels, anyway. Like
yeah, it very much encourages like core spam. Whether that's Redemptor Dreadnoughts or whether that's heavy intercessors or regular intercessors, whatever you want to do, giving them a 5 invulnerable save is never going to be bad.
aren't Eradicators also core?
Yeah. Everything is core except like ATVs. It's like ATVs and tanks, and everything else is core.
Oh my word.
It's a really good thing that the Deathwatch can't have attack bikes, because otherwise they could use attack bikes with this.
Well, I'm glad about that. Right, so so now if you've got Librarian in your army, they can't take the Marine psychic tree. They take the Xeno Purge discipline.
They can take either.
Oh, can they?
Yep.
Powers from the detachment.
It says
all the
can
heroes.
know
Oh,
all of their psychic stuff.
can. There we go. Okay,
So you can
that's
still
awesome.
get null zone and all that crap, just in case you were worried that they might lose options.
Okay. Just in case.
Come on, there's no opportunity cost here.
So I've already talked about Fortify with Contempt, which is obviously being able to give a unit a 5-up DPR. Cast on a 6 as well, so very comfortable to get off. Which I
Get
think
your Chief Librarian in there so it's cast on a 5 and you never have to worry about failing it.
Yeah, it's very, very strong. And then you've just got some other stuff. So one of the things I do quite like, I think it's super situational, but it is in the right situation, is Psychic Cleanse. Psychic Cleanse is a warp charge value of 6, manifested, roll d6 for each enemy unit. Each enemy model within 9 inches is psychic. On 6, it suffers a mortal wound. Now I know that that's shit. I really do know that that's shit. However, I do have this image of like someone like flooding the middle of the board with some sort of like fucking horde army, and then just like a psycho just like mind bulleting, like probably not even that much in the maths. If you had 60 guys, you're only still gonna kill like fucking 10 dudes. But
I
like,
mean, you're getting 60 guys within 9 inches of you. Like, I'm impressed.
well, he's just trying really hard. That's what I'm saying. He's just trying really
okay.
hard. But yeah,
Maximum effort.
yeah. But it's not good. But I just like the image in my head. I was like, that's cool. Shit though, but like fun to to think through. But whatever. Yeah, it doesn't work.
Maybe a fun one.
It was a fun one. Has anyone got any? Nick, you got any faves?
I like Mantle of Shadow.
Okay.
So it's a blessing. So they've started to give their psychic powers like keywords, kind of like they've sectioned off all the stratagems into like battle tactic, epic deed. Now they've got like blessings, malediction, and witchfire.
The
I
further
presume-
we get away from 7th, the closer we're getting to 7th.
Yeah.
Oh, was these in 7th? Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
take that.
they're also the same names as in 7th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Mantle of Shadow is a blessing. So basically, you pick an infantry unit within 12 inches, and it becomes untargetable unless you are within 12 inches or it is the closest, closest eligible unit. So it's a good one for objective play because you could have just a character sat on an objective and your opponent's other side of the board. They can't shoot it. It could score you that objective, or maybe that unit is doing an action you want it to complete. Whoever the fuck is doing actions, I don't know. But like, yeah, you could sit on a primary and be more resilient because you can't be targeted. So I like that.
It's making sure you get your long vigil points because they can't kill the unit you're deployments on.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. Tom, you got any faves?
Really.
I really like the one where you can drop aura ranges by 3 inches, and it's why I'm glad the Malanthrope went up to 6 inches. Yeah, Severance. So you do a mortal wound, you pick a character within 18, it's Warp Charge 7, you do a mortal wound, and then you reduce aura ranges by 3, or if the psychic test was greater than their leadership, you just remove their auras, which is quite funny. It's not super reliable, but if you've got Chief Librarian for the +1, you can maybe get it off against some like guard stuff. Guard, anything that's like leadership 8, you've got a decent odds of getting it. But yeah, dropping 3 off of aura ranges, you can turn off things like defensive auras if they've tried to put it at maximum range, and you just drop off like their Dominus Aegis or whatever, and then nuke into them. And it means people have to be a lot more careful, a lot more compressed in where they're standing.
A unit's aura ability is that going to apply to its equipment aura range as well, or not? Like, I'm thinking about KFF. Does a KFF give?
Yeah, KFF is an aura that the model has. That would be dropped to 6 inches.
Okay.
Yeah, which is huge.
Yeah. So it thinks stuff like, even just we've been talking like the Dominus Aegis, you drop that to 3 inches, or you drop Rights of War Rights of War by 3 inches. If your opponents try to like maximize where they've been standing with it to control space, suddenly they lose it on a bunch of units, and you get an opportunity to do a lot of damage.
Yeah. The thing with it is, though, it is 18-inch range, so if you are doing that, then you have to make sure you absolutely smack it, because otherwise you're getting hit back afterwards.
Oh yeah, for sure. But it's one of those like high risk, high reward plays.
Oh,
right?
hell yeah.
You can definitely, you can put like a jump character, so you've got a 30 plus D6-inch threat range on that. That's a lot for some things. And there's also a lot of auras that are only 3-inch range.
Yeah.
And just turning those off straight up, you don't have that aura anymore, is kind of devastating to people.
Yeah, 100%.
It is, and it's until your next psychic phase as well, so they won't be able to take any opportunity with it like in their turn. So I think that's cool. Yeah, there's I mean, Fortify with Contempt. I can't stop looking at that and just like
it's
laughing.
the best psychic power in the book.
Yeah, it's just
what you take for the other one is kind of situational. Promorphic Resonance for +1 to hit, and the 5 Overwatch is nice. The -1 attack and can only charge closest units is nice, but I'm not sure either of those are things you would bank on. I think you're probably looking at either Mantle of Shadow, Severance, or maybe Neural Void, just depending on what you want your other power to be. Or you maybe go with the base relics and get the base psychic powers and Tome of Malkador into one of these. Like Fortify with Contempt off of that is another option, just to take one extra psychic power. But there's a lot of flexibility, as Tom has very clearly demonstrated. It's a great toolbox.
Thanks, Tom.
I thought the pirate ship was a little bit on the nose, so now we're going for an on the nose toolbox instead.
So now, excitingly, in the book version, ladies and gentlemen at home, you're into the Crusade section. So for the 6 people who do that, fucking crack on.
Skip it.
Shout out to Scrivo.
Shout out to Scrivo and the 3 mates he's got that are all ugly. And
Scrivo has mates.
Yeah, but they're all fucking awful looking.
Fucking hell.
Not Tibbles though. If Tibbles is listening, love you. Right, okay. So now we're on to creating a kill team. Yeah.
Oh, finally! After only an hour and a half, we finally get to talk about how you make the army.
Yeah.
Right, which is the fucked bit.
These look like formations with extra steps.
They are. But also they're also less impactful. They don't do anything. So effectively, there's 4 kill teams: Proteus, Fortis, Indomitor, and Spectrus. Which is, can I just talk about this for a second? If I rock up to a table and someone's like, "Yeah, I'm just running a Spectrus kill team," you'd be like, "What the fuck?"
I'm running a Spectrus kill team with Aquila Specialization, and I'm just gonna be like, "Just show me your fucking list."
Yeah, like,
Stop saying words at me and tell me what's in the units.
I want none of what you just said to me to be real. Yeah,
You know when you go and play in America, they're just going to say, "I have insert actual name of rule here," and just list off all these things, and you have no idea what they said.
They'll be
It's
like,
like
yeah,
foreign
I'm
language.
sorry, my list not on BCP. I couldn't get it to work. You'll just have to trust me.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
I love Warhammer. Right, so let me get this right. Effectively, what it does is it tells you what you can include inside each one of these kill teams. You gain an ability, so it's very much like a Age of Sigmar battalion, by the way. Just like to point that out.
Oh, just a formation that we all hated.
Yeah.
It is
you
played.
know,
You
these
played
are
in
just-
7th, right?
I loved 7th, yeah.
Yeah. So you
But
remember
we're
the,
talking
Aztec
about
house.
now. Stop talking about 7th, you old
Stop
fucks.
living in
Yeah.
the past.
Fuck you. We're,
So
we're
this
both
is how
younger
in
than
the
you.
past.
Cunt.
This is
Oh,
how
the
they
good
did
old
like
days.
the data sheets that we
Good
had
old
last
days with
edition, where they kept
Teslas.
being wrong because they had to like update them. They didn't update them whenever new units came out. So we had like the kill team and then the whatever the fuck, I think it was a Führer kill team, and they were like, okay, these are the units you can take, and they had data sheets for them. And instead of doing that, they've done this complicated thing. But it's just a data sheet. It's not that bad. It just looks scary.
It does. It does. Yeah, some of the chat. I remember 7th.
Reads like
Mine
someone
is-
forgot how data sheets worked and decided to let bikes be infantry. That's basically what these are.
Mine and Innes's combined age is still younger than Rob, so it's fine.
Well, I mean, I'm only 14, so.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, you wee fuck.
Fuck, don't do that again, please.
Guy called me wee. That's very racist. You're appropriating my culture.
I'm actually half Scottish. Just like to point that out.
We would
which
never be able
half?
to tell.
Huh? Which half? Just like Tom,
Bottom
bottom half.
True.
Just the legs. So basically, you build you build a kill team, and it's got like specific like requirements. So effectively, if you were doing an Indomitor one, for instance, contains 1 heavy intercessor sergeant and 4 heavy intercessors, and then you can include some other shit. Then your wargear options change, and your abilities, only eradicators in this unit can shoot twice when this unit uses total obliteration ability. So effectively, if you build one of these, you basically can't bring any special
Can't do any
abilities in.
bullshit.
Yeah, effectively. Now, do I have to build one of these? Like, for example, I want to build a Deathwatch Veterans unit. Does it have to be a Proteus kill team, or does
No,
it
because
not?
the Deathwatch Veterans is also a unit you can take, which
These are
is
the
just
special
10
ones.
of the infantry.
Yeah.
This is just specifically for the mixed squads. The actual Deathwatch Veterans data sheet is its own separate thing.
Right. Okay, so this is just an unnecessary element of rules which I don't need.
Do you think this is because they got fed up of people just abusing lots of different various mixes they didn't anticipate, so now they've just completely locked them down?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because before couldn't you
Just make
like
that easy.
put in like one dude with fly and then the whole unit
Yeah.
with retreat and shoot? That
Yeah.
was just
Now you have to. Now you still can do that, but it costs you a CP.
yeah. Well,
Now it's exactly as stupid as it always was, but there's a resource cost.
and it's not that even
And
not
then you
even
get my
that
CP
high.
back at the start of your turn anyway. And
So-
it's fine.
Basically, these are all 5 of a troop, including a sergeant, and then up to 5 of another thing. And there are some various combinations that are quite broken or powerful. Let's go with some that are just fine, and then some that are like interesting but probably not worth really like diving into. But broadly, these are just 5 of a thing. Models in the unit get their own special rules from their data sheets, and then if you do like combat squads with them, and you go back to like a full squad of stuff with fly, it gets the fly keyword back. Or if you go back to a full squad of like eradicators, you don't have to worry about any of the extra rules. It's just what it is. It's not that bad. It just looks really stupid.
But most importantly, you give something up as well, because you also lose some keywords, like which is a thing. So
Yeah, like
Um,
if you had 10 if you had the one which is intercessors and had 10 intercessors, you
Yeah,
lose
Fortis.
the intercessor keyword, so you can't shoot twice with them, which
Yeah,
would seem
so
pointless.
why would you do it? I think the only
Yeah.
reason that you would do it is so that you can give objective secure to other units that normally don't get it, and then you combat squad off. Seems to be the only reason to do this thing.
Or for ablative wounds, or because you have some units that cap at squad size 3 that can go up to 5 with this, like Outriders.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, and also like eradicators, so you can have a squad of 5 eradicators.
Well,
now.
Eradicators go to 6 now.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Of course they do.
Of course,
But you could do
so
like
sorry.
5 eradicators and 5 heavy intercessors as ablative wounds, and then you got to kill 18 wounds before you kill an eradicator in that case.
which is quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then obviously they have a 5-up, 5-up, so just
Okay.
do like 200 wins to them. And one of them's coming back every turn with the Apothecary. God, I hate Space Marines.
Same. So then that now is like everything up until the data sheets.
Didn't you just paint 30 intercessors?
Yes, because they're super easy to do. Like a child could do it. Like
I hate Marines.
I do it while I'm streaming. I literally don't look. I'm just
I own more than one Space Marine army. I shouldn't really chat, but I hate shooting Space Marines. Let's go with that. White Scars are cool.
There you go.
So overall, like, if you guys have been listening at home and watching, like, very complicated. Like, it's not if you get to grips with it. I think it's all of the combinations and understanding when to grips with it. I think is the thing. I tell you what, I don't feel overly motivated to play with it. Like, I know that there's some inherent power in there. Like, I understand that. Like, I get that it's got strength for competitive play. I really do. If anything, it's got strength for competitive play for the pure, like, obfuscation that you're going to be able to bring to a tabletop by not understanding. Someone's just...
the GSC effect.
The way my army works is shrouded in mystery, even to me.
Yeah. So, do you see the core player, the Deathwatch player, just like, what the fuck are we doing? It's like, no one knows. Like...
Imagine playing this against like a GSC player and neither of you know what the opponent's army does and you're both trying to cheat, but not knowing if your cheating will work.
I think it sounds like a standard anime.
I don't think that game would finish. I think you'd spend like a 2.5 hour round. It would take you about an hour and a half to explain to each other what your army does.
I like how Deathwatch actually don't have an anti-GSC stratagem, which I quite like, because they're going to kill all the units except those ones because they're too imperial for us.
They're too human. It's a problem.
Yeah. Have you got any, Tom? Have you got any top downs about this book so far? What are your thoughts?
Not really. No, I'm still trying to work out the rest of this bullshit. Like I basically have spent my week just roaming around Discords and WhatsApp saying, "Hey, has anyone read this book?" Because I'm too busy trying to learn what it does. I want to play it, but at the same time, I don't want to learn all this shit.
Okay, so are you looking for a TLDR basically on the book?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
It has a lot of power in really boring ways.
Well, that's helpful. Yeah.
I mean, it is helpful.
It has incredible ability to deploy things that stat check your opponent, and then some nice maneuverability tricks, and then standard Marine bullshit. But there will just be games that your opponent can't win because you have the power of Ablative Wound, Inceptors and Eradicators, or Outriders that can come in squads of 5, which is 30 attacks on the charge. Where Outriders traditionally cap at 19. And then you add in all the typical Marine stuff, like you have all of this gets OBSEC from Rites of War, or all of it is OBSEC from kill teams. Inceptors are just very powerful units. There's just a lot of very powerful things to do in here, and then you add the Dominus Aegis onto standard Marine effects, and the ability to give your key unit a 5-up Field of Pain, and then add on an additional secondary option, and then you can still access all the other chapter tactics through the stratagem, and that's kind of where it's at. It's the baseline Marine stuff with slightly more flexibility and some really good resilience buffs, and that's kind of it. And that's probably good enough to make it the best or second best Marine army.
What do you think the other one that's competing with it is at the minute? Just Space Marines. Okay.
White Scars.
Cool. Fair enough.
That +1 damage is really good. I don't know if
it is. Yeah.
Vanguard veterans are insane right now. And White Scars probably abuse them the best because being able to put them on damage to turn 1 is incredible.
Nick, what do you think so far? Like the top down.
I don't feel attracted to play this book.
It's really it's boringly powerful.
Well, I think some of the power. The power seems to come from just a few things. Like there's a few things that are really good, like the kill teams and stuff that Ines was talking about, and a couple of like the psychic power and a couple of items. I don't really feel like the army has a particularly well-designed identity. It feels like there's lots of little bits of stuff that there's a few bits that can have special ammunition, and then you can kind of make some weird squads. Like I like an army to have more of a the identity's there, that like it's more clearly crafted and like you can have a whole army. Like it just feels a little bit all over the place to me.
Do you feel like? Oh, go on, it's after you. Sorry, no, please don't.
It's like they designed a Xenos Hunter army. and then realized that they couldn't print an army that was only good into Xenos, so they toned back all the anti-Xenos stuff to the point where it's only kind of good, and then ramped up all the stuff that's not the identity to the point where it could play into Chaos and Imperium and stuff like that, and that's resulted in this weird mismatch where all the stuff is themed around dealing with Xenos stuff, but it can't be too good at killing Xenos because then it's not an interesting game, and it can't be too bad at dealing with everything else because then it's not interesting, so it's kind of in this weird middle place where it's themed around all this cool stuff, like, but none of it really sings with it. So you've got all this anti-specific battlefield rule stuff instead of anti-Xenos stuff that fits into the flexibility, but it's not interesting, and because it's locked into your list, you don't really get to abuse the flexibility. And I think that's kind of where it's struggling.
Yeah, I feel like kind of going back to the show you did earlier, Rob, with the Blood Bowl Stream Streak, where like in Blood Bowl they specifically have tiered army lists, so you can have an army that comes out that is specifically not very good but fun. I feel like they could have. That was an opportunity with the Deathwatch where they could have made it specifically more anti-Xenos, and knowingly make it that it's not going to be amazing in the tournament scene and be good against everything. It's just going to be specifically good against this kind of stuff, as is the law and the fluff.
And then they based it on the Space Marine Codex, which is just a good book, and then that will never work, right?
Yeah, but because Marines.
That's the
I mean,
problem.
they're still Marines, right? So they have to be as competent as Marines, I guess. I hear what you're saying, Nick. For me, I actually think it puts a pin in maybe a wider problem with the Marine meta and Marine book as a wholesale thing. I don't know what you guys think. I think what you said there's really interesting, Nick, because I think like you talk about white scars and while attack bikes are good, but you're talking about so I know that white scars and iron hands and ultramarines, they have a variety of units. They've got planes and dreadnoughts and eradicators. Pick a fucking unit. I know they've got them all. They talk about them all the time. But I do feel like if you pick a sub-faction, a blanket bonus is only going to ever apply to the best unit that's in the core book all the time, and that's obvious. Whereas if they gave bonuses to specific units that were more like thematic, so like, with Blood Angels like and Space Wolves, like generally like combat that was specific, locked into, like in this, you have stratagems that apply to when there's a model in a unit. Whereas if you had stratagems for Blood Angels, let's say, that apply to like, combat for certain units that are like more like Eradicate. I know that fucking Blood Angels can have Eradicators, but like, do you know what I mean? Thematically,
nothing in the book supports them.
Yeah. Why? Like, I know that they will have them. They'll have tanks. I know they'll have all of that. But why are you giving them rules bonuses for that as well? Like the little edge that they get for being Blood Angels should be for those cases where it applies to their lore, and I think that way you'll end up with sub-factions that are more fringe case, like application, but like at the right time, if the metagame is in the right place, that's the right army to run. Whereas when it's just a flat blanket buff, you end up with just, everyone's got a flat blanket buff, what's the best one? That's the army I'll choose.
Deathwatch are existing in the same spaces like Ultramarines, where they're just kind of jack of all tradesy. Like they've probably got something more flexibility in exchange for Ultramarines having like the no move and fire. Like it doesn't really matter what the specifics are. They can use everything, which means that they'll just use what's the best. Which means that Marine armies are going to look really similar right now, unless they have a very specific.
Deathwatch I'll be playing, I'll be like, okay, so that's the Cassius kill team. And you're like, what the fuck? The audience are like, what?
I think
the trick is though, none of the confusing stuff matters on the table. It just matters getting up to the table, right?
Yeah.
Because if I rock up at the table and I'm like, this is my kill team, and I go, okay, what does it do? It's easier to explain what it does than how to make it.
Agreed. Yeah,
right?
if you can,
so
if you
it's
can build
difficult
the
for
army.
you as a player, but once you've built the army, it's like, okay, this is 10 dudes, they reroll wounds against your troops. That's really easy to say. And you'll be like, this guy can double fire, and that's it, right?
Yeah,
you don't
this
have to go
guy
through-
gives
you
these
don't
guys
have
a
to go
5
through
up.
it because these guys lost these keywords, and that means that they get this axis and they lose this special rule. Like, you have to know that as the player, but you don't have to explain that to your opponent. That's not really important. Which means
Yeah,
I think
good
it's fine to play against, and I think it'll be all right for like commentating and stuff like that. But as a player, to like actually grok it and to figure out how you want to build this list and what combos you can and can't abuse and what rules you can actually use, that's a lot. And it's a lot of what was it you said? A lot of system mastery you have to have in order to understand your own army, which isn't really interesting. I like you to have to understand how you're playing the army, and that's cool. And they have some stuff like that with like the Brotherhood of Veterans to change their thing during the game. But to build your army, having to understand that well, it's not cool. Like,
But that means there
a
might be a
lot.
high skill cap on it, which can a high
Yeah,
skill
but
cap
it should
on,
be simple to pick up but hard to master.
Or
right?
it'll
Whereas
get
this is
really-
just hard to master, hard to
It will
pick
get
up.
really net listed.
Yeah.
Right,
yes.
people will figure out one easy build, and then there will be a couple of people experimenting. But by and large, people will focus on what's doing well already, because then they don't have to think about it.
Yeah. Well, that's fine though. Like, I don't mind the net listing because
Yeah,
if,
no,
you're,
not at
if you're
all.
someone who like,
I mean, that happens
if you're
with easy
looking to just do as well as you can, like you should look to improve your own play to start with, right? So if you just pick a net list, something that you know is good, then if you're going
you
1 and
isolate,
4, you
you
know where
isolate
the
the
issue
variables,
is.
right?
Yeah, exactly. You isolate what the problem is, and then you can fix it.
It's a good point. Well, interesting book. I'm very excited to think about unit roles next week. It does feel like very like monosyllabic as a book. Like I get that there's like options, but
God. I just realized.
what?
We're doing unit rolls on Deathwatch.
How do you use this kill team to do this specific role? Well, I put this unit in and I choose this specialization. Great. And how do you do the other? I just choose the other specialization. Well, fucking thanks for that, Tom.
Yeah.
Same thing every time. Yeah.
Tom's got no excuse for not doing the work then.
It does. Yeah,
I've got
exactly.
plenty of excuses, dude.
There we go. So what do you? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm interested to see what they do with everything else, or if it all has that same samey vibe.
I mean,
I
Space
guess.
Wolves didn't come across samey, right? So I think they've done a good job with some of them. I think it's just Deathwatch's theming doesn't work for being interesting, and that's not really anyone's fault. It's just kind of what Deathwatch is.
Boring.
It's like saying like, oh, I'm really bored of Tau as a shooting army. Well, Tau really aren't ever going to be anything else. You kind of just have to like that or not. And if you're not on board with the theming of Deathwatch, it's probably just not going to sit right with you.
It's true.
And I think that's fine. I mean, not every army can be for everyone. I can't stand like these stand and shoot armies. So
I mean, move forward 6 inches and shoot is definitely. They don't have to even stand still now, which is
yeah,
nice.
move forward. Yeah, your Dominus Aegis follows you now.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure talking. Anyone got any thoughts before we head out? Nick, Tom, you got anything you want to mention or shout outs? Tom?
Nope.
Oh, God's sakes. Nick?
I want to give Tom Layton a shout out
Oh, there we go.
because he's a super cool dude and he never gives anyone a shout out. So hopefully this will inspire Tom to give people a shout out in the future.
Nice try. Not going to work.
I'll give a shout out to the person that Tom should be shouting out right now. They know who they are.
Yeah,
don't,
good.
but-
That's a good one.
Yeah, shout out to that guy.
That guy specifically.
You
Well, I
can,
wanna-
you can always pretend it's you. It's fine. Nobody has to know.
I just want to thank everyone for tuning in live. Big love to all you guys. It's been lovely talking to you. Ines, thanks so much for being on the show. Nick and Tom, of course. Me and Tom are going to be going through the Space Wolf book on Saturday for the Stream Streak show. If you guys want to come and hear Tom be enthusiastic, get ready. It doesn't sound right, but I think it will be. So I'm looking
So we
forward to
got the
that.
right Tom on.
Yeah, I got the one.
Tom Adriani?
I'm just going to give Tom a sausage sandwich in the morning. He's going to be ready to go.
Stick a sausage in my mouth and I'm all
What are you
about
getting for
it.
breakfast, though?
But it's been a pleasure. It's been fun. Thanks very much. Thanks to everyone on the Game Patreon, and of course, everyone who listens to the podcast. Please stay hydrated. My shout out today will go to Henry Steele, who I had on the show yesterday. Oh, actually, do you know what? You should go back and listen to the Stream Street show I did today with Mike. Mike, he's one of the refs for NAF for Blood Bowl. Those guys are fucking like. It was really interesting. I'll quickly bring this up to you three. Sorry, if you don't mind. One of the things earlier they were talking about next year they might have their their new their like international competition, their whatever it's called, I forget already. But they're like WTC sort of like tournament for Blood Bowl, and they're like having the conversation now. They're like, it's 10 months out. So we're not going to change the new edition of Blood Bowl. 10 months. They're like, we're not changing this new edition of Blood Bowl. It's not time enough for people to have worked out all the kinks. And I was like, fuck. And I was like, and I said to him, I was like, what happens if there's something in the game that's broken? He's like, well, we just ban it. And I'd be like, okay, like, that's pretty bold. He's like, no, it's fine. That's the right thing to do. And I was like, interesting. Like, and it was really interesting to hear that, like, and I asked him why it would be bad for the state of the game. And I just wonder with all the codexes and all the releases, if we end up with something that's like genuinely like too good, if that's ever going to be a decision that's ever happens again in 40k, because there isn't really an independent commission on this stuff anymore. I just wondered what your thoughts go on before as a final question.
Well, I would kind of like to see that happen, because obviously we're all upset about the new campaign book that may or may not have match play rules in. I would love there to be an independent body which is separate to Games Workshop to just come along and say, no, fuck you, this isn't going to be in tournament match play, this is banned, and that will stop Games Workshop from making stupid decisions like that.
Well, WTC have kind of done stuff like that. Like we've already done rules changes for 9th edition, and certainly in the past we've done WTCs or ETCs in the past where we didn't change the new rules, and we've done ones where we have on short notice. And broadly, the reactions have been mixed on whatever case it's been. I think it was the 6th to 7th jump we still played 6th, and the 7th to 8th jump we played 8th on like a couple months' notice. Yeah. So it's happened a few times. It will probably happen again. Obviously, it would have happened this year if COVID hadn't happened.
I believe it was a 5th to 6th jump. They still played 5th, and that was the only exception. But
yeah,
sure. You're broadly right.
Before my time.
Yeah.
And then like ITC banned invisibility in 7th and had nerfs and stuff like electro displacement. Even last edition, ITC ruled that the missions didn't exist and wrote their own.
Yeah.
I think there's been a long history of we do house rules in the 40k community if the situation gets bad enough. And if
but aren't a lot of those like those support structures gone now?
They don't exist now, but also the ITC only came into existence like during 7th edition when they rewrote the mission pack.
Right.
So if the need exists, then someone will step up, is generally how it works. If the missions end up being really terrible, we might all end up just doing WTC pack because it's all that exists.
So we need Batman to get into 40k.
Yeah, we need a rules writer. The rules writer we need, but not the one we deserve right now.
It's just Neil in a dressing gown. That's all it is.
Yeah, we'll pay Ishik for his third private island, and he'll write a rules pack for us.
Well, thanks for answering my question. Right, you guys have been great. It's been a real pleasure. I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a nice day.
Cheers, guys.
The Honest Wargamer.